Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 18. Remember, hit this smash the like button. All that good stuff helps us bring content to you for free. Cody Saftic's here in studio. I can't believe I'm saying this, Cody. I'm happy to be off the goddamn island.
Oh, the island was no good to us. Absolutely.
It was good to us the first time around, but boo.
Yeah, I mean,
those 3 cards.
Yeah, we always like to bank Russians on the island, and we had a couple of bad bounces. And yeah, honestly, you can just every week there was like that key apple pie shitter, whether it be Joaquin Buckley the first week, we have Munir Laziz second time around, and then last week or 2 weeks ago now, I don't know, call it Amanda Hebus maybe, call it. I put McGregor on the tickets, basically thinking I'm just gonna hedge out once I gets there. It just never got there, man. It just never got there. So I'm scratching my head thinking, okay, we got to get back in the win column, clearly, right? People enjoy the entertainment, people enjoy the show, but we always got to pump out some winning tickets here, right? So like, what can we change? Where did we go wrong? Getting off the island is key. But the last event of the year, 2020 was a very good year. I don't remember 3-fight skid or 3-event skid for the entire year. And that's how we're starting off 2021. But the last event of 2020, I also had a bag of beer. So I decided, you know what? It's a box of beer, but we got to get back in the win column by any means necessary. So I got to get the monkey off my back. He doesn't have a knife, thankfully. Shout out to Monkey Knife Fight, good people over there. But yeah, we got to get back in the win column, let the stress go, and picks up some winning picks. And then I look at this ticket, and it's like, oof, 14 fights, sure.
13
but I mean,
now.
like 13 now. But it's death row.
By the time we're done, it could be 12.
Is it 13? I'm pretty sure it's still 14.
Yeah, no. What's the Marion Renault versus Macy Chason got bounced this afternoon.
Okay, well, we got 13 fights to talk about.
That one's moved to February 27th, so they're still going to fight. Right. I think Marion Renault has a positive COVID test, but she doesn't have any symptoms, so it could be a false positive. You know the world we're living in now. They're in Vegas. These Vegas cards,
yeah, it could be 11
have
fights,
a lot
10
of
fights.
Just because we break down all these fights doesn't mean they're all going to go down on Saturday. Obviously, if you're playing like DraftKings and stuff like that, pay attention because shit drops at the drop of a hat.
And that's why the UFC puts 14 fights on a card, as they realize, especially now that they're back in Vegas, a lot of these cards are falling off, whether you test positive, your cornermen test positive, and obviously injuries, which tend to happen here and there as well. So yeah, we're currently sitting at 13 fights, my bad. But who knows what we're going to have closer to fight time. Regardless, we'll jump into them, break them down to the best of our ability. And if they do rebook the fight later down the road, hopefully nothing really has changed.
Yeah, and like it seems like they've got like a lot of, if they're in Vegas, there's plenty of gyms and a lot of people just seem to be hanging around, whether they fought recently or whatever, but they're hanging around waiting for their opportunities because like fights have been dropping off all week. And it's just like, oh, this guy got matched up with this guy and so on and so forth. So, hey, more options, the better. Pat?
I just want to let people know that if they want some more UFC content going their way, we were supposed to do a $100 giveaway for this too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Somebody win from last week? Or
I totally forgot about it too. We'll do that next week. If you rate, review, and subscribe to the Dogger Pass podcast, audio on Apple Podcasts, leave your Twitter handle or email address. We'll do 2 giveaways next week because we forgot to do it this week. $100 a piece. Also, Mad Lab is going to have a main event breakdown on Mayo Media Network.
Legit.
And Brett Apley is going to have his DraftKings picks on Mayo Media Network on Thursday and then on Friday. And you can subscribe to both of those audio feeds on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix. It has a whole bunch of short form content. If you like to bet on anything, this is what you got to be listening to. You want to play a DraftKings slate? That's what you got to be listening to. And also, just like this podcast, if you rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, leave a mini review with your Twitter handle or email address, you will be in a draw for another $100. Just giving away $100.
Too rich, just giving away bucks.
Too rich, Pat. Yeah, okay. Well, sweet. There you go. You obviously got your contest giveaways. Great having Pat on the sticks behind us.
Tons of content, lots of promos, free money getting thrown out left, right, and center. Hopefully we can pick some winners here.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason, goddamn, little Cody does shit in your apple pie for whatever reason. We got my boy Apley and Mad Lab on the DK. So yeah, definitely worth having a look at as well.
Check out all of that good stuff. Make sure to like and subscribe and help grow our channel.
Sure,
the more we grow, the more stuff we can give you guys, and it's always going to be free. when we're giving you guys content. Let's get into the action here. We got Alexander Volkov taking on Alistair Overeem. Volkov minus 190, Overeem plus 165. I mean, last time out, Volkov, I believe I had a minus 155 ticket against Gerald.
Walt Harris.
Walt Harris.
Yeah,
Sorry, there's
yeah.
Gerald Harris out there as well.
Yeah, my boy.
Walt Harris. And like that was ridiculous. I was all over Volkov in that spot. Now you're giving me a worse line on Volkov versus somebody who is a higher credentialed striker. Don't get me wrong, Alistair Overeem could absolutely get his head knocked off. Volkov, historically, not exactly like a potent power puncher. Hell of a teep kick up the middle to put away Walt Harris in the second round. But we always know that it's like Walt Harris round 2, he starts to drift away, right? Call me crazy. I'm thinking of betting the old man Overeem in this spot. I know it's not Ubereem anymore. I know he doesn't have, he doesn't have veins popping out from all corners, but
he's still big.
Plus
He's
165. Like, honestly, I think this fight's closer to a pick'em. Overeem, my biggest concern is if this does go 5 rounds, Overeem just doesn't throw enough volume. So I could see a situation where Volkov wins on volume if this goes really deep. But I think the more potent finisher is Alistair Overeem. The better technical striker is Alistair Overeem. It's going to be close. And actually, the reach between them, even though Volkov is just a freaking giant.
Freakish 80-inch reach.
They're both 80-inch reach. So, like, he doesn't actually have that massive advantage. If you saw them staying next to each other, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that tall Russian dude must have a reach advantage. It's not true. So plus 165, dial me up the dog. I haven't bet it yet, but I wanted to hear what you had to say before making any moves.
You can make a sensible argument for every single underdog in the entire card. So yeah, I definitely hear the points for Alistair Overeem. He is the gift that continues to give. Man is 40 years old, right? He's 2 months shy of his 41st birthday, in fact. He's been knocked out 14 times in his professional MMA career, right? Been knocked out in kickboxing as well. Been knocked out in notoriously hard sparring sessions back in the day in the Netherlands. The guy has been around, and yet he continues to come through. He continues to show different wrinkles to his game, whether it be he's always had the ground and pound, but, relying on his ground game a little bit more. Always had the K1 striking credentials, former K1 world champion, Grand Prix champion. But being able to mix up the grappling and the wrestling a little bit as you get older is huge for him. And his last time against Augusto Sakai, showing that, geez, I'm thinking three rounds is enough for Alistair Overeem. 5 rounds is just, at this stage in his career, he's got to get it done early. But he shows like he knows how to pace himself, right? Back in the day when he first signed with the UFC, he was a balls-to-the-walls guy, you remember, and it wasn't working out for him. And then it was right around the Junior Dos Santos fight where he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to start laying traps. And I'm just going to start pacing myself. I'm going to let this guy come to me. And yeah, if he does that and he paces himself, he's still a top guy. Obviously, he's still headlining cards in 2021. He's still a top guy. But it seems like he's overachieving a little bit. And what I mean by that is he gets knocked out by Jairzinho Rosenstruck in a fight he was winning, right? Gets knocked out right at the last. Gives a great account of himself. But that Walt Harris fight, people buy into the Walt Harris narrative about his daughter and it was a tough situation. No, not us. We're all over Alistair Overeem and I'm licking my chops. And the end result is great for us. But the process, oh man, Walt Harris is teeing off on this guy. He looks done to the wind.
Walt Harris has to be the most overvalued guy in the heavyweight division, though.
Yeah.
In terms of the betting markets, the betting markets just always seem to give him so much love.
To put things in perspective, Walt Harris has no notable victories, right? He's coming off a personal tragedy to headline his first ever card.
Tough spot.
Yeah, against Alistair Overeem, of all people, right? A former multiple-time world champion. And Alistair Overeem was a plus 135 underdog to Walt Harris. Right? So people buy the narrative. We're on Overeem, but there's no doubt he takes a shellacking in that fight. And then he comes in against Augusto Sakai. He's a favorite in that spot, 175. But again, there's this narrative just like he can't take the punch. And the end result, good for us. But the process, like, my God, Alistair Overeem is hittable, very hittable. He does not wear a shot very well. And whereas Walt Harris gassed out after 3 minutes and Augusto Sakai gassed out after 2 rounds, I don't see Volkov gassing out and going anywhere.
That is true.
He'll just continue to go. And so in a 5-round fight, Overeem now needs to worry about finishing this man. So how does he finish him? By submission? No fucking chance. Because Volkov's a guy that went 4 rounds with Fabricio Verdum and spent a lot of time on his back, by the way, in bad spots. Not get submitted against...
Went 5 with blades.
Yeah, and got taken down 13 times, got smashed up.
But like rounds 4 and 5, he started Blade started to tire out, and he started to get himself back into the fight. It was too late to win the fight, but it was a good account for himself.
Yeah, and he still lands 31 significant strikes, as we'll go to volume, right? When you look at his volume, it's great. 31 significant strikes land against Blades, despite getting taken down 14 times, right? So when he was standing, he was pushing that action.
5-round fight, so
in the Walt Harris fight, went 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 15 seconds, to which he landed 45 significant strikes. That's good. The Greg Hardy fight was a 3-round. He landed 86. The Derek Lewis fight, which he did get knocked out in, he had landed 121 significant strikes. He also shows 135 significant strikes landing against Stefan Struve, 122 landing against Roy Nelson. Those are numbers that Overeem's never going to hit. No. One, he doesn't need to hit a guy 100 times because they're going to topple over, but he just physically can't. He's going to gas himself. And where has he been winning his fights, this last little streak, 2-fight winning streak, is getting the guy tired and taking him down. So he's not going to get Volkov tired, and I don't think he's going to get Volkov down as easy as he was getting down Augusto Sakai.
I think he can take him down.
Harris. I think he can. But there's two things there, right? Thing number one is that when you look at Alistair Overeem's wrestling, it's awful, right? It's like a football style takedown where he just, it's all muscle, just muscles you to the ground. The Sakai one, it was suicide dives, right? He's taking him, he's pulling Sakai on top of him, just knowing fat fuck is too tired that I'm just going to end up on top and smash him. And no offense to Augusto Sakai, he was not in 5-round shape. So he's exposing those guys. When you look at Volkov, that was the way to defeat him. And Blades can still do it. But he's worked a lot on his takedown defense, to which effect Blades can take him down and he gets back up, right? Fabricio Verdum can get him down, he gets back up. He's defensively sound, he protects himself, but then eventually he works his way back up. And with Overeem is not Curtis Blades. He's not going to take him down 14 times. He might take him down twice, right? But if he doesn't finish him with those 2 takedowns, Volkov's going to get up and put that pace on him. And whereas he got hurt against Walt Harris, but Walt Harris gassed, and he got hurt against Augusto Sakai, but Sakai gassed, he's going to get hurt against Volkov. And when Volkov keeps coming at him, he's going to have a serious problem. So I get the live underdog because it's a heavyweight fight. And we've got Overeem, who, he's been knocked out a ton, but, he's got all the knockouts in the world on his record. And he's technically got a lot of submissions, but those haven't been in a long time, and mostly by guillotine choke. Submissions off the table. Someone's getting knocked out here. I'm going to say Volkov knocks out Overeem. I can see the argument if Overeem knocks out Volkov, but at minus 190, I would take it. We see that over 2.5. So Volkov, because he's a volume guy, he doesn't have that big, quick finishing power. But a near 41-year-old Alistair Overeem, at any point, you just need to land the punch. It doesn't have to be a big punch. It just has to be a clean punch. He's got a shell-up defense, especially when he's up against the cage. I'm leaning towards the under 2.5.
I'm leaning towards the over, to be perfectly. I mean, Overeem got to the 5th round with Jairzinho Rosenstrike. He should have won that fight. Literally, his lip fell off of his face.
It was a slow-paced fight because Rosenstruck is a death-kill guy.
Overeem lulls you into that slow-paced fight. I think the over is what I would prefer. So it sounds like we're just all over the map.
We're all over the map to start off another tough card, but we're getting. But
you like Volkov in the under. I would actually lead towards Overeem in the over, but I wouldn't. I think I'm gonna just have a little bit of Skrilla on Alistair Overeem at plus 165. That's where my money's fair enough. Not a big bet, just a little taste. All right, we got Corey Sandhagen taking on Frankie Edgar in the co-main event. Sandhagen minus 400 favorite. Edgar can be had for plus 325. Take it away.
Okay, so now you have another situation where it's a live underdog, right? And then they're baiting you at the price of a plus 325 on Frankie Edgar. So you're getting all the back class in the world from a former world champion, guy that won the title at 55, guy that was a challenger at 45, guy that technically is a challenger at 35. He's done it all. He's fought the who's who's. He's always going to fight for your dollar. He's always going to give you a 100% effort. But there's no denying he's kind of at the back end of his career. He's getting older himself. At what point does he start to wear out a little bit? He won his last fight against Pedro Munoz. I wholeheartedly disagree with the decision, but it was a competitive fight, right? He gave a good account of himself. I didn't agree with the decision, but it was still a good fight. He's still a live dog. Now, how does he beat that young buck, Corey Sandhagen, new kid on the block? The blueprint's already been written on Corey Sandhagen. You need to take this guy down, right? And how's his takedown defense? Not all that good, right? Frankie Edgar, his wrestling has kind of taken a back seat over the years, right? It used to be his bread and butter. Get in there, mix it up with you, close the distance, get a hold of you, slam you. Doesn't matter if you're Gray Manion, you're twice his size, and you're also a former collegiate wrestling standout. He takes these guys down. He muscles them. These days, not so much, but I get that impression that he's still alive to do what he did to, say, Yair Rodriguez. Where it's like Yair Rodriguez was another up-and-comer, new kid on the block, fantastic striking. He is going to chop up Frankie Edgar.
Only has to do it for 2 or 3 rounds here, too.
He only got to do it for 2 to 3 rounds, right? So if he is going to get tired, and we know Frankie can fight 5, right? So condense that into a 3 you know he can fight 3.
Yeah, he can set a crazy pace.
And Corey Sandhagen can
has
also, but Corey Sandhagen's a slow starter, right? And where Frankie, you can make the argument that he's also a slow starter, it's like, not really. He gets in your face right away. He tries to push the pace right away. Some of the fights that he had some success early in some of the fights he's lost. I can see a path where Frankie just goes in there, gets this guy down, wins those first 2 rounds, doesn't get knocked out in the third. Everyone keeps talking about Sandhagen's guard. Man, he'll throw up triangles, he'll throw up arm bars, very wily guard. It's Frankie Edgar. At this point, his chin's not as legendary as it used to be. That's the path on him.
Frankie will be very happy to just let you throw up submissions from your back if that means that you're on your back.
Yes, and not only that, but when you're threatening submissions, you're not attempting to get back up. You're attempting to submit the guy. So if he's evading submissions, he's still spending time in top control, right? If Corey Sandhagen would just be like, I'm just going to push him off of me and get back up, that's his best path. But the problem is that Frankie just wears on you and he keeps going and he keeps that... keeps that short amount of space between you. In the open pocket, he's always been the shorter man. Even at 35, he's coming in undersized against guys like Corey Sandhagen. It's crazy to think he won a world title at 55 and is seemingly still undersized at 35, but strength's not an issue. Speed, he's starting to lose his speed a little bit, but it's enough that Corey Sandhagen is not twice as fast as him. He's got a lot of good redeeming qualities. Now, my issue is that I'm a Corey Sandhagen nut hugger, right? I've been on him in all of his fights, including his losses as well. Did I think he'd give a better account of himself in the Aljamain Sterling fight? I did think he'd do better. However, his takedown defense was his problem. We knew that, right? And Aljamain flat out exposed it. Yep. So fighting Marlon Moraes and knocking out Marlon Moraes, cool. Little feather in your cap, decent. But it's like, it's 2021 now. Knocking out Marlon Moraes ain't what it used to be, Paul. So yeah, big win. And you can't discredit him for him. But, could he knock out Frankie? Absolutely. But is there a path? Is there an avenue for Frankie to take this guy down and grind this guy down and pick up a decision victory of sorts? Most definitely. And it becomes real tempting because the price is off. I got Corey Sandhagen to win. I got Corey Sandhagen as the favorite. 4-1? That's a head scratcher. Where does that price get drawn up?
80% of the time, Corey Sandhagen wins. That's what the line's telling you.
I just don't fully
Frankie
agree with
win
that.
20. Well, I mean, they're not giving you plus 400. Obviously, that's just how odds work. But
yeah, never go.
What are they giving? Does Frankie win 25%? If they fought 4 times, maybe Frankie pulls one out of it. The line doesn't seem too outrageous. I think it's kind of dog or pass. I'm not going to be betting on Frankie Edgar in this spot, Pat.
Any chance that Edgar wins inside the distance? Is his only path a decision?
So he's not going to submit Corey Sandhagen, I don't think, although that would be his path. The knockout, I don't see it. Corey Sandhagen's got a cast iron chin. He's got a good chin. Frankie could theoretically submit him. But if I'm betting Frankie Edgar, I'm betting Frankie Edgar by decision. And I get back to that as well because we're now back in Las Vegas, right?
Small cage.
And where Frankie Edgar lost the fight to Pedro Munoz, when you're a judge and you're sitting in a close fight and it's a really close round, you give it to Frankie Edgar. And why is that? Because he's Frankie Edgar. He's given himself to the sport. He's a fan favorite. He's always a hardworking man. You give him close rounds.
I don't
you
know
give
if
him
that's
close
how it
fights.
works.
Man, it was a bullshit decision against Pedro Munoz.
That's not how
Why?
it works,
Because Pedro Munoz, who's he?
Just for the people in the comment section who are
probably going to hate on me.
Who would attack that comment, that's not how judging works. They don't go, oh,
Judging
by the way.
is bullshit. So
oh, we give him the
how it
Frankie
works.
Edgar bonus, so that close round goes to Frankie. That's just nonsense.
If you do take him inside the distance, it's plus 4. Like Edgar by decision is plus 450.
I mean, that's probably how he wins. He gets a couple takedowns and gets it to there. So yeah, plus 450, I suppose, it's obviously better than the plus 325. The thing with it is, it's MMA. Things happen.
That price,
I would feel
I'd be
pretty.
willing.
I know. I'd feel pretty sick to my stomach if Frankie does find that knockout, though.
The knockout, I really don't see it. It's the get on top of him like the Yair fight and smash him with elbows, and that's where the knockout comes. Is that ground and pound?
Well, it was like Frankie Edgar versus Chad Mendes
Mendes
years ago. We did.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else. It was the same type of situation. Young Gun versus Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar's just considerably older now, but it was Young Gun at the time. Frankie was the old guy in that situation. And it was another situation where everyone kind of thought that was going to go to the distance. And, crazy shit happens in MMA. I would feel sick if I missed out on a plus 325 because I was trying to get a little greasy and greedy.
Cody?
Yeah.
So if you don't think that he knocks him out, you can bet plus 450 Edgar by decision or 21-1 that he wins by submission. Just bet those two.
Yeah, no, submission would be the move. And I just want to counter Paul's point right quick because it's the most counterable. He's not going to be able to argue this one because he just loves it so much. Corey Sandhagen, okay, got hit 106 times by John Lineker. You remember that fight. It was like, fight of the year candidate. This was a badass fight. Arguably lost that fight, by the way. I know people on Team Lineker were like, bullshit decision.
I had money on Lineker.
Fight.
I didn't think it was a bullshit
What
decision.
a good fight. Corey Sandhagen got hit by the greatest pure power puncher 135 pounds has ever seen. Well, flyweight especially. He never really made flyweight, by the way. He was always like 128, 129, 130. But you know what I mean. If you're taking those shots, it is MMA. Anything can happen. But this kid's never been knocked out.
No.
He's been hit. If Frankie's going to win, Frankie's going to take this kid's back and rear naked choke him, just like Aljamain did.
I think,
Take him down, out wrestle him,
Frankie by
out-grapple him.
decision plus 450 is not the worst. Because, the way Frankie wins this fight is he gets takedowns in the first couple rounds, is able to hold on. Maybe he does it all 3 rounds. But, there is definitely paths to victory. And at minus 400, it's terrifying to be overexposed to Sandhagen. I think he's super, super talented. I think he wins the fight, of course, but...
And this over
this
2.5 is minus 220, and I don't mind that as well. The price is not right on it. Whereas like with Frankie, that chin's a little bit gone. Sandhagen could wheel kick him. He could do something. He's a crafty striker. And with Frankie, so much back class. If he does get those takedowns, the submission is in play. So it's not a great price, but I do think this fight is probably going to go to decision. And I would think Sandhagen edges out a close decision, but this is minus 400 is not a close decision type price tag. So I hate to say pass on this one, but it's looking like a dogger pass. Am I ballsy enough to bet Frankie Edgar in 2021? I don't think I am, but I see an avenue that he can go out there and do the same thing Aljamain did. Not as effective, not as quick, not as good looking as Aljamain made it look, but he can still do it.
Pat's going balls. So Pat's in. Pat, I think already made the wager. Plus 450.
21-1. Let's go.
21-1. These aren't golf odds, but hey, you know what? Honestly, 20.
That's pretty good.
5% chance. I think is a lot more. I may have to dabble on that submission prop to be perfectly honest. I mean, we saw Aljamain do it.
They train together, by the way. Or they have, not necessarily everyday training partners.
Yeah, I'm hitting that shit. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to put very much on it it could save me from probably the other shit bets that I'll make along the way. All right, we got Alexander Pantoja taking on Manel Kape. Pantoja minus 130, Kape plus 110. Who you got? Okay,
so Kape, this is a really hard fight to cap. With Pantoja, what version of Pantoja are we gonna get? If the good version of him shows up, I think he's able to beat Manel Kape. But Kape's he's got a lot of he's got a lot of versatility. He's a really good striker. He's got big power. He's got really good footwork. I just keep banking back to like the unknown in the ground game aspects of things. And then the other two things we need to really consider, right? You got Manel Kape's coming in with all types of hype, right? He's the Ryzen champion. This guy's had a lot of success. He knocked out Asakura. He's looked really good. He's fought some decent guys. He's kind of like a Michael Chandler. He's a big signing for the UFC. He's coming right in. They're not feeding him some bump.
No.
They're giving him Alexander Pantoja right out the hop. That shows that they got a lot of faith in him. Not only that, so there's a lot to, like I said, there's a lot to like about him. But the unknown there is the ground game. And also when you look at the guys he's fought, right? He's got a nice win over Ian McCall. But Ian McCall, if you watch the fight, he hits McCall. McCall goes into the ropes. It's in Japan. They're not fighting in a ring. They're fighting in not an octagon, a cage. It's like a physical ring with ropes. And McCall's like face rubs on the ropes and it's a cut stoppage. And that's one of his big wins, but it's a weird cut stoppage, right? He loses to Horiguchi. No shame in that. He loses to Kai Asakura. He loses to Ulka Sasaki, who we all remember from his UFC run that didn't end very well. And then he picks up these wins. Seichiro Ito, not a high-level win. Takeo Mizugaki in 2019 is not a high-level win.
No.
And he avenges the win over Kai Asakura. In my opinion, not a high-level win, right? Asakura just rematched.
Against Horiguchi.
And he has the win over Horiguchi. That's what makes it look like nice win.
Mike Brown leg kicks.
Yeah, but it's just like that second fight, it's like, oh yeah, they just changed the game plan a little bit. When you flip side to that, you got a guy that's fought a who's who. He fought Ulka Sasaki and ran through him in little over 2 minutes. He's fought in Brandon Moreno. He's fought in Dustin Ortiz. He fought a bunch of good guys on The Ultimate Fighter. He fought the current champion, Davidson Figueiredo, in a hard-fought 3 rounds where he gives an excellent account of himself. Knocks out Matt Schnell, which, my bad. Apparently that is something. knocks out Matt Schnell. And then the Askar Askarov, his last time out, loses the fight. And this is where I have a problem, is that he looked gassed like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes into the first round. And in the second round, he was tired. And I thought he won the first round. In the second or third, he was just way too gassed out. And so if he comes in here and it's the same thing against Kape, it's going to have a problem, right? If he's not able to slow him down, if his cardio doesn't check up, then it's going to be a problem. Because even though he is a good striker and he can crack as well, you want to employ your wrestling. You need to get this guy to the ground. You need to out-grapple this guy. Whereas Kape has normally just been knocking these guys out, right? He's been fighting, predominantly strikers in Japan. He's able to touch them. He knocks them out. He's allowed to wear wrestling shoes in Japan. If you watch any of the tape when he fights in Ryzen, he always opts to wear the wrestling shoes. Now he's in a cage. He's not in a ring. And he doesn't have the shoes on. And he hasn't fought since 2019. So if his timing's a little bit off, and his ground game's a little bit off, Pantoja's going to put it on him. And when I talked about he looked so gassed in his last fight, and that's a concern, looking at everything on him right now, he's at ATT full time, and he looks in good shape. So I do want to see the weigh-ins. This line isn't going to change much, so I don't feel the need to jump on it right now. But I think Pantoja is the rightful favorite at minus 130. I think he does get the job done. I want to hit that over 2.5 at plus 115. I think Pantoja wins this fight. I think he can win it by decision. With Kape, we haven't seen him submitted. He could get chin checked and knocked out. Theoretically, he can knock out Pantoja as well. But I'm going back to, you went 3 hard rounds at Davidson. You took Davidson's best shots. So this kid is a wily, scrapping striker. From Angola, Africa, currently living in Portugal. Don't strike with him. Just take him down. What training partners does he have? This is your chance, man. Get this guy, take him down, take the bag. And would that lead to the submission? Well, maybe. And then at that case, but they're giving you plus 115 in the over 2.5. So that's the way I'm leaning a little bit there. I got Pantoja in the straight up on minus 130. But again, like I said earlier, you can make a case for all of the underdogs. And yeah, you've got a guy in Kape that has a ton of power, is a hot prospect, is still young. That 1.5 years off could have benefited him. He can come in here in excellent shape, but I just think Pantoja is way more credited, fought the better guys, given a better account of himself. I got to go with the guy with the experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Pantoja in this fight as well. Let's move on. We've got Cody Saftic taking on Askar squared. Not Askar Askarov. Don't be fooled. This is Askar.
Askar Askarov's badass. This guy, not so much.
Yeah, well, we got Cody Saftic, minus 420 favorite. Askar squared, plus 335. Stamman was supposed to fight at 135, but obviously Askar squared coming in on short notice. They're doing this at 145 this week. It's a Stamman fight. The over-under is minus 250 to the over. I mean, it's a Stamman fight. Stamman doesn't really tend to finish pretty much anybody. So that kind of makes sense too. It opened up yesterday. It was like minus 330. It's already been steamed up to minus 420. Is there any value on any of these sides here?
Yeah, like you'd want to take the Cody Stamman fight. He's been preparing for a fight. He's in really good shape. But the move to 145 is definitely a little concerning. Not because he can't fight at 145. We've seen him do it before. But like he's a stud at 35. He's a top 15 guy.
Well, he was ready to fight at 135. I think it's just that Askar was just like, I can take the fight. I can't make 135.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. With Cody Stamman, he was getting ready in December to fight Merab Dvalishvili. And then he pulled out of the fight. So this is only 2 months removed from him withdrawing from a fight. But it's no problem. The booking against Andre Ewell. That's like a tailor-made fight for Cody Stamman, who like is a good wrestler, but struggles to take down elite wrestlers. Take down Andre Ewell. He's like a good boxer, but like struggles against like elite level strikers. He'd do more than fine against Andre Ewell.
Yep.
And Andre Ewell has cardio issues, and Cody Stamman does not. So I was all over Cody Stamman in that spot. It's not that I'm not all over him in this Askar fight, but it's different. You're taking on a guy now who's also a natural 35er, so the 45 shouldn't make a difference. But it's just short notice, right? Where's Cody Stamman? I don't know. But I like what I see out of Cody Stamman. I followed him for a long time. He's obviously from the Michigan regional scene. He's trained with a lot of Canadian guys. And I mean, he's just one of these kids that's always getting better. He's fought and got good guys, and he always gives a good account of himself. So he comes to the UFC, beats Terrion Ware. That fight was at 145. It's a decision, and it's a relatively close decision. But Cody Stamman, you see the growth out of him. The Tom Duquesnoy fight, right? He was a plus 145 underdog to Tom Duquesnoy. Goes out there, does the damn thing. Exposes him as not a real prospect, defeats him. He beats Brian Caraway as a follow-up performance. Those are big wins. He's putting together a nice career. Loses to Aljamain Sterling. That's not a big deal, man. Aljamain's a top 3 guy in the world. Aljamain's going to fight for a world title. Aljamain might be the next champion. This is a legitimate guy. Losing to him, not a big deal. The wins, Alejandro Perez, Brian Kelleher. The Song Yadong draw, he should have won that fight. I don't know how he didn't win that fight, but it's a draw. They want to protect the Chinese prospect. You say it don't happen, Paul. Judges don't protect Chinese prospects.
I said Frankie Edgar. It's Frankie Edgar. You get the Frankie Edgar bonus just added to
Frankie
the end of your round.
Frankie Edgar and Chinese prospects. They get the and Russians on the island.
Russians on the island. Hey, I am a stand for Russians on the island. I am not going to deny. If you are in a close fight, except for Zubaira Tuhugov, he didn't get the Russian on the island rub.
I know,
against
what the
Dawadi.
hell?
What the fuck was that?
I
mean, it wasn't that close.
Dawadi clearly won the fight, but you could have screwed him. In theory, you could have screwed him.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
Right. Of course, we've all seen worse. Those guys are getting the rub. You say the rub doesn't exist, but the rub exists. The fight with Brian Kelleher, right? His brother died like 2 days before, and that was like a narrative. Certainly on fight day it was a big narrative, but like fight week, people didn't know what was up. This guy still makes weight. He still shows up. He beat the fuck out of Brian Kelleher. Good performance, decision. He's not a finishing guy. So when I say beat the fuck, it's not like he knocked him out or nothing. No. But like really good account of himself. And then loses to Jimmy Rivera. And again, that's a legitimate loss. You've lost to Aljamain Sterling. You've lost to Jimmy Rivera. I think he lost to Eric Vo way back in the day. That was a bullshit decision, by the way. But like he's only losing to the best guys. In his wins, mixed bag. You know, Kelleher's not a top 15 guy. Perez is not a top 15 guy. Caraway's shouldn't have been a top 15 guy, but was because he had some big wins. Beat Aljamain. With Cody Stamman, when he fights those low levels, he gives a good account of himself. When he fights the upper echelon, maybe that's when he struggles a little bit. This is not an upper echelon fight. Askar is very much like a Bilal Muhammad. He's a jack of all trades. He's out of the Midwest training center. He can grapple a little bit. He can strike a little bit. He would like to stand and bang. That would be his path, but it's not going to be an option with Cody Stamman, who can take him down, I think. Mostly at will. He's coming in on a really short notice. I just think that this is tailor-made for Cody Stamman to go out there, grind this guy down, win. Again, he is a decision guy. You look at all of his fights in the UFC. Outside of getting knee barred by Aljamain Sterling, he's had seven of his 8 UFC fights go to decision, right? So he's a stud.
What's Stamman by decision? Because the over Pat 2.5 is minus 250. Like, that's pretty steep, too.
Of course.
The statement by decision is 155 minus 155.
That's how I improve.
That's how I would play this.
I don't usually try to fucks with a minus 420 because it's good as it is. But like I'm gonna improve this minus 420 to a minus 155 by specifically chasing that Cody Stamman by decision. Again, he's decisioned less guys than Askar. Askar seems tough enough. Askar does, because I know some people will be like, "Oh man, you know what you're talking about." I just want to bring this up real quick. People will mention 2 fights back, Askar got knocked down in 39 seconds by Sayukub Karamanov. Kaha Ramanov is a stud. Like, that guy is one badass dude. And he'll be in the UFC soon enough. He was signed to PFL. He's only 25 years old. He's fighting, I think, a couple weekends from now. That guy's an absolute stud. Getting knocked out by him, not that big of a deal, right? That was the only time he'd been finished as a professional. I'm hoping that he's just going to be durable enough to lose that decision, and I can improve Stamman to a minus 155.
Stamman hasn't historically been a finisher whatsoever. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Diego Ferreira taking on Benny Dariush. Minus 120 Ferreira, plus 100 Dariush. The over is over 2.5 rounds is minus 135. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 105. What I'm drawn to off of the hop here is we're in a small cage. Benny Dariush, I know his chin has held up in most of his recent fights.
Yeah, but like, has it? It's been on the verge of not holding.
Exactly.
It has. You're right. It
plus
has.
105 to find. I know that the BJJ, Benny Dariush's BJJ is so solid, but Ferreira should be able to negate a bunch of that, or at least stop the takedowns. And Dariush could get a finish on Ferreira. Ferreira had been chin checked at 145 pounds, a whole bunch
Dustin
more. But once he put on that extra 10 pounds, like a Poirier, I think his chin improved because he was cutting too much to get down to 145 pounds back in the day. I kind of like the under here though, plus 105. I lean towards Diego Ferreira, but I've never really been right on Diego Ferreira across his career. Like I'm swinging like 500 or 50-50 on his fights
Yeah,
type of thing.
he's capable of
I'm leaning towards the under 2.5 rounds here because we're in the small cage. Dariush's chin has been questionable. I think Dariush could put the beat down onto Ferreira. I think it's a great fight. I think high action. Really looking forward to it. If I had to bet out of these 4 options, it would be the under 2.5 rounds. What about you?
Yeah, you got a guy on a 6-fight winning streak in Ferreira versus a guy in a 5-fight winning streak in Beneil Dariush. They're both, top 15, top 10 guys. They fought in a who's who. Again, they're not elite level. They're not world championship level, but they're going to beat all the mid-level guys in the world. It's just that there's a lot of shakiness between both of them. Beneil Dariush, yeah, man, he's got the ground game. He's got the striking. Maybe he's got a slight chin issue. And with Ferreira, I can't really pinpoint an exact issue that he has other than inactivity. Guy
Slow
fights once a
starter
year.
sometimes too.
He's a slow starter.
Like that Kyle Nelson
Yeah,
fight.
and we're going to get to
Jesus.
that because that makes him untrustworthy, right?
Yeah.
So this is a guy that he is a slow starter, and he's got these big lulls of inactivity. When you look at the actual record themselves, this is what it comes down to for me. Ferreira's got the striking. He's certainly worked on his technical boxing a lot since the Dustin Poirier fight. And you see that in his fights now. It's like, man, he's got nice, tight technical boxing, big power. And the guy's a 3rd-degree BJJ black belt, man. He ain't fucks around on the ground. He gets you to the ground, you're in a lot of trouble. Ask Jared Gordon, who's a John Danaher brown belt, and was like a white belt taking his first BJJ class. It was like, wow, there is definitely levels to this, and Ferreira's at that highest level. But still, Jared Gordon should have been in there with them in the first place. No doubt he's got that ground game. But the key here is that they've already fought, right? They fought back in 2014 under the UFC banner. Beneil Dariush won the decision over Carlos Diego Ferreira. And where he won that fight is that he's able to take him down. He's able to take him down, control him. Because whereas Carlos Diego Ferreira puts that BJJ black belt to very good use against a lot of guys, they're not on his level. They're Anthony Pettis's of the world. They're the Jared Gordons of the world. They shouldn't have really been in there with him. He's got the style to defeat them. Against Beneil, back in the day when they fought, yeah, he was a 2nd-degree black belt, and it just completely rendered, useless against Beneil and Beneil's top game, been able to take him down, stay out of submissions. This fight's the same. Beneil's technical striking is nasty. He's got a nasty body kick. He's got good strikes. You see in the Drakkar Klose fight where he got stung as well. But it's like Drakkar Klose is durable, man. He doesn't get hit a whole lot, and he does certainly not get finished a whole lot. And Beneil Dariush is like stung in the fire, returns fire on this guy. Whereas he been out grappled, he was submitted by Michael Chiesa. Now here's the thing. Michael Chiesa is the biggest welterweight I've ever seen. Well, nah, that's a lie. He's one of the biggest
lightweights.
And that fight was at lightweight. Yeah. No, he's a huge welterweight, Paul. That fight was at lightweight. So you know what? Getting submitted by Michael Chiesa, not that big of a deal. Beneil Dariush, he's got big wins. Again, does he struggle when he gets to that higher echelon? Sure. But he's finding these ways to come back in these fights. And then the Scott Holtzman fight, you see where he lands like a 20-punch combination on Holtzman and then KOs him with a spinning back fist, man. It's like his striking is there. The grappling is there. The cardio is there. And you and I have said this since his 2nd fight in the UFC, because remember I had... what was his UFC debut again? I bet against him. Randy Nijum. Randy Nijum knocked him out. But it was after that. He started winning. His ring IQ is massive. Like
he's a super smart guy.
He'll break down for you the entire sequence that happened. You see these guys, they're like, what happened? I blocked out. It's like, what do you mean you blocked out? You just knocked the guy out. So I don't really remember anything that happened in the fight. Take me through the replay. It's like, I'd like to see it too. Like this guy was like, yeah, he stepped out 2 inches to the left. So I pivoted around, nailed him with the body kick. Like he just... complete sequence. Adrenaline rushing through your veins. Post-fight interview. He's smart. You've met him in real life. You talked to him in real life. Very smart. Very high ring IQ guy. He knows what he's got to do to beat Carlos Diego Ferreira because he's already done it. And it revolves around take this guy and submit him. Now, as you mentioned, he might get chin checked, but he's got good striking. So his striking should be good enough. Keeps it competitive. And then hopefully take down Carlos Diego Ferreira. Ferreira on top is a problem. Ferreira on the bottom is not the same problem. And then that very last thing I want to mention is, like you said, the Kyle Nelson fight. Kyle Nelson had him hurt. Kyle Nelson took the fight a week's notice, up a weight class, and had him hurt and then gassed out, understandably so. He's pretty much done that in all of his
fights.
All of his subsequent fights have gone.
If he doesn't put you away in the first round, big troubles in round 2.
Yeah, but it's like Beneil, he hurt him to the body, right? And Beneil's got a nasty body kick. And with Ferreira, he's 36 years old. Yeah, he's a stud. Yeah, he's on a 6-fight winning streak, but he really only fights once a year. And so when you're fighting once a year, you're just not getting the experience. You're not getting the ring time. And Beneil's super active. He'll fight anybody. He'll fight rank contenders. He'll fight non-rank contenders like Alex Hernandez. There was a time the Evan Dunham fight and the Alexander Hernandez fight, it looked like mentally checked out. Doesn't really want to be there anymore. You know, durability is an issue. Doesn't really seem when he wants to fight. But he seems 5-fight winning streak. Confidence is back. Feeling good. Nice fight. Rematch. And you're going to give me plus 100. Technically speaking, underdog. Well, hopefully dogs are barking in Vegas. This is not really a dog. He's plus 100. Let's be real. But what I'm saying is if I'm taking Volkov, Sandhagen, and Pantoja, and Cody Stamman, then Beneil Dariush is the underdog that I will pull that trigger on and take him. I think he's got a lot of merit in the spot. I like Ferreira. Don't get me wrong. It is a close fight. Don't get me wrong. But the pick would be Beneil Dariush. And furthermore, over 2.5, minus 135. Love that. Love that for sure. I think this fight is going the distance. It
You
did
like
the last
over
time around.
2.5?
Yeah, I do. I mean, again, we've seen it before 6 years ago, 7 years ago, a long time ago. And it's just like, it was two grapplers. Now, they've both improved their striking a lot. But Beneil's too smart to get into a firefight with this guy because Ferreira clubs bombs. And Ferreira, as well, same thing, Anthony Pettis fight. He didn't really want to strike with him. He wanted to close the distance, get a hold of him, peel him to the ground. I think Beneil Dariush's wrestling's better. He'll get the takedowns. He'll control that lull. He won't knock out Ferreira. Hoping Ferreira don't knock out him. I'm leaning towards that over 2.5.
Shoey bet.
Should we bet on it? I'm in for that.
I'll take the under.
Okay, you got under 2.5. I got over 2.5.
Yeah.
That's a shoey bet. Mark it down.
Pat?
I believe that you guaranteed that Frankie Edgar would win by submission at 21-1. I've already bet it, so now you're changing your mind and saying he's not going to win?
Frankie Edgar, 20. What do you mean?
Isn't that what we bet earlier in the card?
Yeah.
You said Sandhagen.
Yeah, but what did we just talk about right now?
He likes Sandhagen to win, but he
we
thinks
like
the
Frankie Edgar to win.
value.
Lock of the night. Let's go.
He likes.
22
He thinks
to
the
1.
value is on Frankie.
Yeah. Listen.
Frankie 21-1 to win by submission
Lock.
is definitely There's no way. There is no situation in which that type of prop loses.
Yeah.
I mean, 21-1 is a great freaking number.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff you take. Shout out to my boy MMA Lock of the Night, but he was talking about Marina Rodriguez by second round knockout over Amanda Hebes at plus 1100. And I'm thinking to myself, that's real specific, man. She's already a big underdog, and she's already a real nice price at knockout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let alone a win. Why would you chase a second round knockout prop? Which
these things.
Which was generous, which was, at 11-1 was light. You could have looked at other books and got it all the way up to 16-1. Sure enough, Amanda Hebes, for whatever reason, opts not to wrestle anymore and has to stand in front of a credited striker like Rodriguez and gets knocked out. Sometimes you just chase those big, it could happen. As you mentioned, the line set that Sandhagen wins 8 out of 10 times. If you don't believe that's the case, then yeah, if you believe he only wins 6 out of 10 times, you still believe he's the favorite. You still believe by odds-wise you would bet him. But if they give you a big price tag, that's when you're swayed. So yeah, no, my pick is Sandhagen, but Edgar at 22-1. I mean, yeah, if you're going to take some type of punt. And then reeling back to this fight, Beneil Dariush at plus 100. Would I chase that Beneil Dariush by decision, which is probably not all that much better, to be perfectly honest with you?
It's probably considerably better.
You think so?
Based
Well,
on
I guess
what the
based on the
over-under
over-under is, yeah.
It's close to a pick'em. I bet you it'll be plus 280.
Wrong. Dariush
Whew,
by decision plus
315.
300.
Yeah,
that
I'm
makes
seeing it
sense.
315, but yeah, okay, you know what? That's my 3-1 play, which Makhmud Muradov was like 2.5 minutes away from being the same thing. I thought he'd win a decision, and he did what everybody else does to Sanchez, knock him out in the third.
One more quick thing. The way that you've talked about this, like, for whatever reason, I'm joking about the 21-1, obviously.
Pat is
I'm
tilting, losing a 21-1.
Back
I've already put the bet in, so I'm
You
in on
lose
it.
on 21-1 golfers all the time.
Oh yeah, I'll lose like 5 of them this week. I'm not too concerned about that. But the way that you guys have talked
Chasing
about
the
this
long
fight,
outs.
just kind of like triggering in my mind, just the memories of you guys talking about the Conor fight and the way that you laid out both sides of the fight, and whether it was with you guys, whether it was with Brett when I did my show, or with Mad Lab when I did my show, everyone took Conor, but the entire discussion was, it's great value on the other side. Like, out of X amount of fights, does he really win this often? The answer is no. So it should have been obvious that the other side was the play. That's what it sounds like in this play. Like, just the plus 325. I saw it at plus 350. I'm looking at it right now. Like, plus 350? By the way that you guys are talking about this, maybe you guys are just wrong, that the Edgar
very
play seems like a
possible.
good play for value.
We
agree,
could just
man.
be wrong.
Listen, with Dustin Poirier as well, again, you got a guy that it could be on his last leg and could be bleeding all over, it could be huffing and puffing, and he'll give you that 100% effort. And Frankie's the exact same way. He's going to go down on his shield. He'll give you the best he can. With Corey Sandhagen, is he overvalued because he's a young prospect? Is he overvalued because he's out of a mega gym? Is he overvalued because he's coming off a sweet highlight reel finish? Maybe all those things do get played into it. But again, if Conor fights Dustin Poirier 10 times, based on what I saw, Dustin Poirier beats him 8 out of 10 times because that game plan is there all day long. Conor threw his punches. They were way too slow.
Conor's game hasn't adapted, basically.
No, see.
The leg kick game, the way his stance...
It regressed. His game regressed. He used to be
exactly. That's what I'm
floaty.
saying. He didn't evolve.
No,
Conor
he went the
hasn't
other
evolved.
way. It wasn't the same guy.
I mean...
He was
I
a
think
boxer.
I think the game has just improved, and what Dustin Poirier has done with his game has improved. I think Conor's just the same guy.
No, I'm
I think
gonna
the
hit
game,
you
like
up.
the amount of leg kicks that get thrown out in fights in 2021 versus 3-4 years ago, like the game's changed in that respect.
Okay, so fair.
Attacking the lower body is huge now.
So look at the GOAT, right? The tainted GOAT. The tainted GOAT, John Jones. John Jones goes out there, he's loose, he's light, he's free, and he just touches these guys up and beats these guys with a punch. Now he takes a suspension and he just decides, I'm going to power lift. And he gets thick and he gets strong. And he's lifting heavy weights and he's in great shape. He's physically very strong. He gets rebooked in his return fight against OSP, right? I remember this distinctively. You and I got John Jones inside the distance tickets. And it's like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? How can you not beat OSP inside the distance? Beats him. Whatever.
He looks sluggish.
He looked awful. His wrestling, not there. He wasn't able to hold him down. His striking, slow. Looked super sluggish. Won every round. Actually got hit one time real clean by OSP, but turns out he's the tainted GOAT for a reason. He's got a good chin on him.
He's going to end up fighting the winner of Stipe versus Ngannou, right?
For sure. What I'm saying is the powerlifting went against him. He got big, he got thick, he looked in tremendous shape, but it's like his game was different. He wasn't loose, he wasn't flowy, he wasn't free out there, he wasn't throwing the kick arsenal, he wasn't moving at the same speed. He was thick and different. Conor at weigh-ins, and we talked about this all fight week as well. He looked in tremendous shape, like strong, thick, big. And when you saw him fight, it looked like he was getting ready for a boxing match. He was flat-footed, he was strong power stance, and he was just trying to line up those big punches from a flat-footed stance. Whereas before, he used to just be so like in and out and intercept. And why not let Dustin come to you? You know, like why not counterpunch? He used to be a natural counterpuncher. Now he's trying to move his guy back. Like it was just a different look from him. So again, we can cap a fight, and you can talk to Appley, who's a great capper. He's got Conor. And you can talk to Mad Lab, and he's got Conor. And by the way, 90% of the people I talked to had Conor. We get called an idiot because we ended up having Conor, but people were on the same page is that none of us that pick Conor can anticipate what he's going to look like when he physically comes into the ring, right? That's just a crapshoot. If he decides, same thing with, this is way level. We're going from Conor McGregor to fighting about Sarah Moras. Could she defeat Vanessa Mello? Yeah, Paul. Sure, she could defeat Vanessa Mello. Can she defeat Vanessa Mello if she just inexplicably decides, I don't feel like wrestling?
I don't know if she can really wrestle all that well. I think anybody who's on that Sarah Moras side, like, woof, give your head a shake. That's a like betting. Sure. No. It's like, dude, I bet I ended up betting that one live plus 162
because you saw Sarah Moras not.
Dude, it was within 20 minutes or 2 minutes. I was kind of like,
she's not attempting to
she's
get
gonna lose. She's gonna lose on the feet, and her opponent is the underdog in this spot. It didn't make any sense.
See, I did the same thing.
That was one of the only good things I did on the island.
Yeah, that was. I remember I did the same thing. Caitlin Chikagian against Cynthia Calvillo, right? And in the first 3.5 minutes, Cynthia Calvillo half-heartedly attempted one takedown attempt. You're not gonna win this fight unless you get the fight to the ground, right? Everybody knows it. You know it. Your camp knows it. Then it turns out you don't know it. You think you're going to defeat them. Sarah Moras got her hand in the air, dancing around. You know, she had a real sense that she felt she got robbed. Robbed, Paul. She thought she got robbed. So when I talk about Beneil Dariush, he's aware of what's going on. Frankie Edgar, he's got all the back class. He's aware of what's going on. When we get talking about Devontae Smith and we get talking about Audie Osbourne, Jerome Rivera, they don't know what's going on. And it's not a knock on them. It's the fact that they're not top 5, top 10 fighters. They haven't won world championships.
They're still making they're still improving in their game.
They're just young prospects on the way up. And UFC 5 years ago, the best guys fought there. Now, not the case. Anybody fights there. So you can't overvalue what you think someone's going to do. Live betting is a huge market. You've got so much more information, 90 seconds, 2 minutes into the fight, than you do sitting here thinking, you know what? Michael Johnson, I don't know. Just like you don't know until you know. In his case, it's tough because he'll win the first round and then he'll fuck up somehow.
Oh, speaking of which, we have Michael Johnson taking on Clay Guida. Michael Johnson of minus 220 favorite. Clay the Carpenter. Guida can be had for plus 180. I believe both of us were on Michael Johnson against Thiago
Of course we
Moises
were.
last time
Of course
out.
we were, Paul.
Round 1, I'm just like rubbing my hands. I'm like, Michael Johnson just pitching a shutout. Just a perfect first round. Just looks light on
Maybe
his
a
feet.
10-8.
Landing strikes at will. Doing everything that, I was thinking he would do. Round 2 starts. And Thiago Moises basically just comes across, like spams, jumps out a leg, grabs a knee bar.
No, it was an ankle lock. Ankle
lock,
like
whatever, a leg
lock.
lock. And like it was just like all of that goodness. Like I think Michael Johnson was up to like a minus like 600 or something insane like that.
Live.
Yeah. And then just boom, poof, it's gone.
Where have you seen that before?
You can't trust
Michael
this
Johnson.
guy when they're laying a minus 220. That's all I'm gonna say.
No.
This fight looks like the definition of dog or pass. Clay Guida is way, way over the hill. Is the better striker, Michael Johnson. Can he pick Clay Guida off at range? Yes. Clay Guida have the better cardio? Yes. So it's dog or pass for me here. I don't know if I'm gonna have the stones to pull the trigger, but Clay Guida or bust. I'm not touching Michael Johnson after what happened against Thiago Moises.
Michael Johnson is on one hand one of the top 10 greatest lightweights of all time. And on the other hand, awful. Awful, awful, awful. And what I mean by that is this is a guy that shows a win over Tony Ferguson. This is a guy that absolutely rearranged Edson Barbosa over 15 minutes in a pure striking match. This is a guy that knocked out Dustin Poirier in the very first round. And this is a guy that, very technically speaking, gave Khabib Nurmagomedov outside of Gleison Tebow his toughest fight because he punched him one time in the face.
He did shit.
Nobody else has punched him one time in the face, Paul. Michael Johnson at least did. He's got colossal power. He's one of the heaviest hitters you've ever seen. Then he moves down to 145. It was just a different man. And now coming back up to 155, he's just a different man. He's not the guy that he used to be. Michael the Menace Johnson. Apparently he's dropped the Menace nickname. I've seen something on, I think, Instagram. Regardless, it's like, you talk about the Thiago Moises fight. Dude, it's the whole body of work. The Darren Elkins fight. By the way, he chin-checked Justin Gaethje as well, right? Bad in the first round. And in the second round, he gets knocked out. Nobody deals Justin Gaethje. He fights Darren Elkins. He is just want to mention it, minus 200 favorite over Darren Elkins. He wins the first round. He looked good in the first round. The second round, Elkins got him to the ground, which we all knew was going to be a problem if Elkins was able to get him to the ground, and he was. And he sinks in that rear naked choke. Damn, Michael Johnson blew that ticket, right? The Andre Fili fight, he wins, although he could have lost that fight. It was close. The Artem Lobov fight, he's a 7-1 favorite. And he beats Lobov, but did not look good. And that's where this trend starts, right? The Josh Emmett fight, he's up 2 rounds. He got knocked down in the third. The Stevie Ray fight, he fucking kicked the shit out of Stevie Ray in the first round. The second round, he's beating him. It ends up being a close round. Personally, I had it for Johnson, but I can see it going for Stevie. Clearly, the judges gave it for Stevie. And in the third round, the guy just gives up the takedown. He's not a 3-round fighter. He's not a 2-round fighter.
No.
He's a 1-round fighter. And then against Thiago Moises, whoo-hoo, he looked good in that first round. Maybe a 10-8 round. Absolutely pillar to post, kicks the crap out of Thiago Moises. But in the second round, like, it's not even a takedown. Because you and I always talk about it. I don't know why we always talk about it. But we literally always talk about Michael Johnson. We always bring up the fact that he had a collegiate wrestling background, junior college.
I mean, that was the storyline people brought up when he was fighting Khabib. And it's just like, that's not gonna.
Yeah, but when he was the Ultimate Fighter, he was a wrestler, right? And he lost to Jonathan Brookins in the final. And since then, he linked up with Henry Hoof, originally the Black Zillions, now Sanford MMA. And his striking just went way up, man. This guy became a devastating striker. You see, Michael Johnson at his best is the Edson Barbosa fight, right? The power on display in the Poirier fight, the power to a lesser extent. This guy chin-checked Gaethje, chin-checked Khabib. Both of those times he touched them up were both in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
All his fights, first round. Then I got thinking, you know what? Him against Thiago Moises, okay? He's a minus 110 favorite. He loses as a favorite. Him versus Stevie Ray, minus 260 favorite, and he lost. Him versus Josh Emmett, minus 125 favorite, and he lost. His fight against Elkins, he was a 2-1 favorite, and he lost. He was a minus 155 favorite over Justin Gaethje, and he lost. Clearly not the favorite over Khabib. He got smoked as a 4-1 favorite over Nate Diaz.
Many coffins were dug
betting
Michael Johnson.
he's never the underdog. He's always an overwhelming favorite. He always looks like an overwhelming favorite for the first round, and then his game just absolutely falls off the rails. And with Clay Guida, he's 39 years old, and he ain't the man he used to be. And he's still got a good enough chin and a good enough wrestling game that, like, why can't he just survive the first round and then get the takedown and then work Michael Johnson over? Dude, it's a path to victory. It's definitely a path to victory.
I could see
Michael Johnson burns me all the time, but it's like I get why he's the favorite. I do. I understand it. It's just he burns me all the time.
I think he's going to look like the favorite in the first round.
So live bet it.
Yeah, I think it's a better live betting opportunity. Clay's durability has held up, obviously, over the years. He's always just been a warrior in there. Michael Johnson could put on an absolute clinic,
which he probably
in
will.
the first round, and you could get a real silly number in between rounds 1 and 2. So worth a look for sure. It sounds like we just don't have faith in Michael Johnson to continue a perfect performance over the course of 3 rounds. He's going to make some mistakes. Clay's not exactly a potent finisher. But Clay's not going to slow down. Clay's going to be coming in round 3 as well.
Clay's not going to slow down. He's going to be coming at him. And then the only thing that backs me out of it, of like, why am I not backing Clay Guida? This is what gets me on it, right?
Because he's 38 and you hate old people.
Yeah, definitely. And Johnson's 34. He's getting up there himself. But with Johnson, I thought he was going to get cut after the Moises fight, right? It's like, sure enough, this guy's going to Bellator to fight, Brandon Gertz, for sure. And they retain him. 3-fight losing streak. Especially losing to Stevie Ray, who's no longer with the organization. Getting submitted by Moises is not that big of a deal considering he's a good grappler, but still, this is a bad streak. You need to get back on track. He'll be ultra motivated to go out there and give a good account of himself, at the very least. But Clay Guida, going back, his last fight against Bobby Green, he's not able to get the fight to the ground. And when he's not able to take down Bobby Green, he's just not, he can't strike with Bobby Green. And so this is not a racial remark in the slightest bit. Bobby Green fights like a poor man's version of Michael Johnson. Right? He's got enough wrestling to keep the fight standing. He's slick. And he's a good striker. He doesn't have the power, but like Michael Johnson is more than capable of doing exactly what Bobby Green did. My thing is like Bobby Green will fight 3 rounds all the time, unless he's fighting Dustin Poirier. Who you see a recurring theme here? Everybody who fights Dustin Poirier is usually in for a bad one, whether it be Carlos Diego Ferreira or Bobby Green or Conor McGregor.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, and that's why those guys develop back class. So it's like it's you always know when you're backing a guy like that it's not the worst bet in the world because they're gonna give you something. Whereas when you bet Munir Laziz, who's a big price, he doesn't have that, man. He's got 1 fight in the UFC against Abdul. Shame on me, not shame on anybody else, right? That's a lesson I already knew, but it's like you don't recognize it. Laziz, if I could redo it again, he would have been on the ticket, not knowing the world he was gonna win. If I could do it again, he wouldn't have been on the top ticket. He wouldn't have been on the top because there's always something that can happen. And in this fight, both guys got a lot of backlash. Something can happen. Johnson screwed up way too many favorite tickets. It's like you just can't have faith in him. And with Clay Guida, he's at the back of the end as well. Both these guys are in relatively rough shape. It just seems like
we're watching this one for live opportunity.
Yeah, bet it. Look to bet it live. Or just pass it all together. But the pick would be, we'll talk about the PRP at the end. The pick would be technically, oh God, Michael Johnson.
You sick fuck.
I know. How many times have I said that and it's not worked out?
Yeah. All right. We got slow Mike Rodriguez taking on Danilo Marques. Mike Rodriguez minus 245 favorite. Marques can be half plus 205 over 1.5 rounds, not 2.5. So obviously this fight is expected to be finished relatively early. Is plus 105 to the over 1.5, minus 120 to the under 1.5 rounds. Where's your head at here?
Okay. So again, talking about fights that are hard to get a read on, but Danilo Marques, right? He's announced the UFC signs him. And he's going to fight Hadis Ibragimov. I would bet anybody against Hadis Ibragimov. And then I fucking tape studied the guy. And I was like, I can't bet this guy over anybody, let alone Hadis Ibragimov, the biggest fraud in recent memory. Can't buy a win in the UFC. The tape's no good, man. He has not, first of all, coming into the Hadis Ibragimov fight, he hadn't fought in 2.5 years. He was sitting on the sideline for 2.5 years. His wins are over 5-4-1 Clayton Caetano, 0-16 Mark Pelomeno. He lost to Myron Dennis, a 13-7 fighter at the time, who's, is a kickboxing stand-up more than anything. It's like this guy, he's got a loss to Marcio Tellis, 6-6 by first round knockout. There's nothing on this man's resume nothing, and I mean nothing, to suggest that he should be in the UFC. Unless he was managed by Ali Abdelaziz. Then I could see him getting in the UFC. They bring this man in to lose to Kape Bragimov. The thing is, no man can lose to Kape Bragimov.
At least
he's
not in the UFC.
He's just so bad. Yeah, he fucks us up. But, I mean, he's just so bad. You know, what is there to his game? He's a combat sambo world champion. Like, who is he fighting? Anyways, I digress. It's just not a good look, man. That fight with Kape Bragimov, though he did win, was awful. And I do mean awful. And the only thing worse than watching it live was rewatching it a second time for some tape study. It's like, it's just bad. Kates doesn't do anything. This guy's striking's awful. Hands super low, chin right up in the air. Kates can't take advantage because ever since he fought Dong Young Jung and threw a 77 punch combination in the first round, he's tired. You know, he's just worried about getting tired. He doesn't throw punches anymore. It's like, it's a really bad fight, but ultimately he gets the fight to the ground. His ground game's slightly better. He's in top control. He wins a decision over Kape Bragimov. With Mike Rodriguez, he eats this guy up. He eats this guy up all day. The problem is Mike Rodriguez has a similar trait, similar characteristic to a lot of the fighters that we've already mentioned. He's very untrustworthy. John Allen grounded him like nothing and outgrinds him. It's a no contest because Allen was on steroids. All the same, right? His ground game looked really awful there. Da Eun Jung, we talked about that. Da Eun Jung knocks him out. Minute into the first round, you know, just clips him with that shot. And then the Ed Herman fight, one of the very few times in your lifetime that you'll see a man win a fight and then lose a fight in the exact same, you know, span of 15 minutes. Like, he did beat Ed Herman. He shot him to the body. Ed Herman got a few minutes to recover, and then Ed Herman just takes him down, submits him in the third round. It's embarrassing. You know why it's embarrassing to me? It's not Ed Herman on top of anybody is a problem. He's a black belt. He's a big guy. The problem is you got this guy out on his feet, right? He's hurt to the body. He can't offer you anything in the striking realm. You're up 2 rounds real easy. And in the third round, you initiate clinches with him. Why are you clinching with him? It shows poor ring IQ. And so it's not that I don't think he beats Daniel Marques. I think he's a way better striker. Step in knee up the middle, long rangey guy, great front kick, great teep kick from the back. Much better striker. You know, one of these Massachusetts guy, Boston Brigade, he should absolutely torch Daniel Marques standing. I just don't really trust his ring IQ enough to not at some point grab a tie plum, fall to his back, and end up with Daniel Marques on top of him. That's what gets me. So listen, I want to take Mike Rodriguez, but they're offering you a minus 245 price tag, Paul. It's just not a great price tag. The over 1.5 plus 100, I would lean towards that. I think this is a late second round finish. It could be a third round finish. And if Marques manages to get Rodriguez to the ground, it'd be a decision. But if Rodriguez is going to win this fight, I'm thinking it's going to come later in the second round, in the third round, TKO this guy. Take him out. He is a far better striker. He just needs to learn to stay on the outside, avoid him. And we're back in the Apex, so it is a smaller ring. So that's all stuff that works against this 245 price tag, right? I'd like to tell you to pass. I don't feel like being a coward here, so I'm going to straight up take Mike Rodriguez. But, like, come on, 245 is just not the kind of price tag that anybody can get excited about. And if Mike Rodriguez shit in the apple pie, it's the same as Michael Johnson. It's the same as Alexander Pantoja. It's the same as Corey Sandhagen. I backed him against Aljamain. Boy, I had him against Aljamain, and he made me look bad. And against Volkov as well. It's like, you know, the Derek Lewis fight with Overeem. Anything can happen. It's like, who's going to shit? If you told me it was Mike Rodriguez, wouldn't be surprised. But we're in the business of making picks. Rodriguez would have to be the pick. Far better striker, way more experience. And Marques had a 2.5-year gap and then beat Kape Bragimov. And the last thing I want to mention, Paul. Okay? Sure, I can't beat Kape Bragimov, and you can't beat Kape Bragimov. And the two of us together couldn't beat anybody on this entire card. But the two of us together could beat Kape Bragimov. One of us has got to go low, one of us has got to go high. But in a 2-on-1, we fucking take that guy. And I can't even tell you that the two of us on one could beat Jerome Rivera, because we wouldn't. He'd fuck us up. Kates is a fraud. Way too fast. Hit me, I'm out. Hit you, you're out. We're fucked. With Kates, it's like he's not going to hit nothing. He's not even going to try. Kates had a 3-fight stint in the UFC
Combat
specifically.
Sambo world champion. I haven't seen the wrestling.
You know what? I would say that the Russian mob was like, you know what to do. 3 times, dog. 3 times. And on the last time, he was the favorite. He was the favorite over this bum, Daniel Marques. But it turns out
Yeah, Hadis Ibragimov
Paul
was a
says
Russian.
it doesn't happen.
Was a Russian losing on the damn island.
He was on the island and he lost. And
Imagine being Russian and losing on the island.
Well, let's talk about that. Timur Valiev. Woof. Talk about a disappointing debut for him. And another time that a Russian let me down.
Valiev takes on Martin Day. Minus 345 Valiev. Plus 285 Martin Day. Where you at? Where's your head at here?
So Timur Valiev, they clearly try to give him his rub in his debut. He comes in against Trevin Jones. He's a 6-1 favorite over Trevin Jones. He's going to kill Trevin Jones. When you talk to people that are in the know with Timur Valiev, this is a guy that trains with Frankie Edgar full-time, who you see on the card as well. This is a guy that is drawn as a direct comparison to Umar Nurmagomedov because of his fight style. This is a guy that was brought into PFL, to push as a top-level guy. And it's like he finds a way to shit in the apple pie. He had done it once previously in the PFL against Chris Gutierrez. I want to say he was a 6-1 favorite in that fight, right? He was a minus 475 favorite, and he lost to Chris Gutierrez. He actually beat him in the rematch, sure. Mm-hmm. But it's like you've seen him shit in a ticket before, whether it was Russian mob related or not. I don't know, Paul. What I am saying is this Trevin Jones fight, he comes in as a 6-1 favorite. He's going to kill Trevin Jones. He was undefeated in PFL. This guy, or not undefeated, he lost to Chris Gutierrez, but he was a standout in PFL. Looked good, comes to the UFC. He's getting a layup. Trevin Jones is not a layup, but in that's hindsight shit. At the time, it was a fucking layup. And it's just like, oof, he gets stuffed. He gets stuffed big time. The first round of that fight, he looks like what he was billed at. He is a Frankie Edgar type. He is an Umar Nurmagomedov type. He has really versatile striking. He'll throw question mark kicks. He'll throw teep kicks. He'll throw axe kicks. He'll throw straight punches. He'll throw a whole versatile arsenal of strikes. But he's also a really good grappler. And he'll take you down and just rinse and repeat, beat you on the ground. The Trevin Jones fight, he kicked Trevin Jones' ass in the first round. He was looking good in the first round. He's like a minus 9-1 or 10-1. I think it might have been a minus 1,100 after the first round, live betting. And then in the second round, it's like a right hook just catches him and he folds over. He was hurt. He got beat on. It's over for him. Is the guy untrustworthy? Does he have a chin problem? Does he have all these different things? I don't know. But he was actually booked to fight Julio Arce on this fight. And that's not an easy fight in the slightest stretch of the imagination. Arce is a former Golden Glove boxer out of New Jersey. The guy can wrestle. Guy's got good ground game. He's got experience in the UFC. He's fast. He's durable. He's got good cardio. Julio Arce is a tough fight. Obviously, they got faith in this guy to bring him back. Losing to Trevin Jones, bringing him back to fight Julio Arce. But Arce pulls out and you get Martin Day. Martin Day has fought 3 times in the UFC. And it has been an absolute mixed bag. His debut, that was his best go, I think. Pingyu Liu was his debut. He loses a split decision, gives a good account of himself, lost the fight. But it's like, okay, we can grow from that. Davey Grant fight, and I banked Davey Grant because he was like a 3-1 underdog. It's like Davey Grant knocked him out. Davey Grant caught him with a knee. It's like, oh man, Martin Day's got some problems. And then you see him against Anderson dos Santos. It's like Anderson dos Santos just marches him down, takes him down, submits him in the second round. Martin Day has shown you absolutely nothing. Martin Day is now 0-3 in the UFC. Not only is he 0-3.
This is a softball served up for Timur Valiev.
Fuck is it ever? And with Martin Day, I don't know what to call it. The Gordie Howe hat trick in hockey is you get a penalty, you score a goal, you fight a guy, right? 3 fights.
No, it's goal, assist, and a fight.
What did I say?
You said get a penalty, right. Score a goal,
the fight
and get
insinuates. You're sure. It's a goal, assist, and a fight. Gordie Howe hat trick. The most Gordie Howe hat tricks all times, Brendan Shanahan, who ended up being like the league disciplinarian. It's like, this dude's a bad motherfucker in his heyday. Anyways, I don't know what to call it quite yet, but the 0-3 in the UFC, you get knocked out, you get submitted, and you lose the decision. Got to come up with a name for that. But that's like the trifecta. Martin Day has been exposed in every realm that there is to expose him.
It's the Martin Day.
Yeah, it's the Martin Day, right? He's a Taekwondo black belt, but the problem is he's really light standing. He'll throw spinning techniques. He's got a nice little hook kick. He's got some nice, again, spinning attacks. But he just doesn't have the cardio to keep it going. The Pingyu Liu fight, his best account of himself, he got tired. The Davey Grant fight, he really got tired. But he showed that his grappling is not great as well. And then the Anderson dos Santos fight, again, grappling is kind of an issue for him. To be 0-3, losing by, again, submission, knockout, and decision, to get that 4th fight in the UFC, that would be, that's a kind of a stretch to begin with. To now take that fight in the UFC that they're offering you on short notice, that's a bitch. Now you're taking that fight that they offered you on short notice against Timur Valiev. That's a
whose
bitch.
buddy Frankie
That's a
Edgar is
bitch.
fighting higher up on the card, and you figure they were just like, we need a softball. We need to get 2 more back on track.
Then they offer you a short notice fight against Timur Valiev at 145 pounds. Now, I get Valiev has fought at 135. He's also fought a lot at 145, and he looks a lot better at 145. I expect him to look a lot better here. He'd be a top of the ticket kind of guy. But he's a top of the ticket kind of guy that has fucked over 2 massive apple pies. He should have walked right through Trevin Jones. And he should have walked through Chris Gutierrez the first time. He has shit in 2 pies, and we're going to top ticket this guy. So, again, you get the impression that like the UFC's matchmaking has gotten incredibly better, and there's a lot of lower level guys with uncertainties and unknowns that it's like you got to take an estimation, what you think is going to happen, right? Hopefully he shows up and does the damn thing. If he doesn't do the damn thing, you know what he's going to. But this would be another good live betting opportunity where he's going to smoke Martin Day in the first round. But if he doesn't finish Martin Day in the first round, I think Day will tire out. He'll still win. But like at least at that point, you'll get a massive price on Martin Day. 345 is a lot better than minus 420 on Cody Stamman. It's better than 400 on Corey Sandhagen. So yes, he's a guy that I'm playing.
Devontae Smith takes on Justin Jaynes, minus 300 Smith, plus 250 Jaynes. The over-under in this fight, over 1.5 is plus 135. The under is juiced, under 1.5 is juiced to minus 165. I mean, you watch the Kama-Worthy fight versus Devontae Smith, and I go, there is no way I'm laying a minus 300 here. I think he has... he's a better athlete, much more explosive athlete. He's got all the skills. He's got the size advantage, reach advantage, all of the advantage. Athleticism is not even a comparison between the two of them. Both of these guys get finished, or they like to finish fights. They like to finish fights early. Justin Jaynes is going to come at you. I think the advantage in the chin, slight advantage maybe to Justin Jaynes. He's just always in bangers. He's out there trying to get it done really, really fast. This fight obviously was made like yesterday. Smith was supposed to fight somebody. Jaynes, I believe, had something booked as well.
Yeah.
So
Alex
like
Silva.
these lines are pretty fresh. They didn't even have like a Justin Jaynes by knockout. If I see him plus 325 inside the distance, and I want to know what the knockout is. I just want to avoid the submission. I think Jaynes just kind of barges forward, tries to bomb on you, or he's entertaining. These are the types of fights that we want filling the lower end of cards, because it's like this guy's coming to either put you away or get finished. Like there is no middle ground. The lines obviously show that, but if I can get like a plus 400 on Jaynes by knockout, I may take a little nibble, because Kama-Worthy just put Devontae Smith out of his misery. Now, I think Smith is the better fighter. I think Smith wins more often than not, but I'm not laying the minus 300 here.
Yeah,
he's been too much of a letdown before.
Yeah, so this is another classic apple pie shit type of fight, because you got Justin Jaynes, and he is extremely limited. Let's be real here. But when he beat Frank Camacho in his UFC debut as a plus 230 underdog, it was pretty good. That was a pretty big... Everyone was on Camacho for the most part, and this guy came in, week's notice, just happened to be in Las Vegas, takes on Frank Camacho, who wasn't quite all the way done now. Wasn't quite all the way done. And, he took a massive cut in the first 45 seconds, but still, gets the job done. Big win for Justin Jaynes. And the flip side of that, Devontae Smith, I didn't believe this at the time. When he lost that fight, and thank God, this is what happened. Devontae Smith booked against Clay Collard. You and I sit on the show, we're like, Cassius Clay Collard's a 3-1 underdog. He's going to beat Devontae Smith. He could knock him out. He's got real good hands. He pushes. He's already got UFC experience. This is a live underdog. Like 2 days before the fight, Collard got cut from the UFC for pulling out so late too, and then I'm going back to boxing. Now he's in PFL apparently. Mm-hmm. But Devontae Smith gets booked against Kama-Worthy. Thank God we didn't have time to bet it, and we didn't bet it. Kama-Worthy was a minus 1,000 favorite over Kama-Worthy or Devontae Smith.
And they were like former training partners. I believe.
And that's why I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were former training partners, and when you watch that fight, Devontae Smith doesn't fight like he normally does. Normally, he goes out there and he tries to kill you. He doesn't have great cardio. And that was the problem with Clay Collard. Clay Collard's got a great chin and infinite cardio. Guy can go all day. If Devontae Smith had shown a third-round TKO loss to John fucking Gunther, because he got tired and got knocked out by John Gunther. So it's like, this guy's untrustworthy, especially at 10-1 over Kama-Worthy. I'm just going to pass on this one. And the Commonwealthy, he was real hesitant. Didn't let his hands go. Ends up getting knocked out at the end of the first round, left hook. But that's like a year and a half ago. He hasn't fought since. And so I'm hoping, clear the cobwebs, obviously, but also that he's made some improvements. And this is a good fight for him in that Justin Jaynes just likes to come forward. You can hurt this guy. He can hurt you. You know, he hurt Frank Camacho. He did hurt Gavin Tucker. But Canada's own Gavin Tucker rallies and beats him. It's the last fight against Gabriel Benitez. You and I are heavy on Benitez. Benitez is such a class above this guy in the striking realm and is really durable that he'll take Jaynes' best shots and he'll knock him out in return fire. And he does. First round knockout. Nice win for him.
Yep.
That's how I feel about this fight as well. I just feel like, you know what?
I don't think Devontae Smith is
But
on
he
the
doesn't
level
have the durability.
of Gabriel Benitez. I think Benitez
100%.
beats the shit out of Devontae Smith.
You know what, dude? I agree with you.
I mean, I think Jaynes versus Benitez, it was like minus 200, minus 220 for Benitez. I had them in parlays. I was all over that. They're telling you with this line that Devontae Smith is better than Gabriel Benitez, and I think that's fraudulent.
I know. Benitez is a
on
solid,
Mowgli if
solid gatekeeper
Mowgli
guy.
slid into this spot.
Hardest kicker in the
You're
UFC.
gonna give me
decent
underdog
hands.
money on
Yeah.
Gabriel Mowgli Benitez against this kid?
The key
Give me
is you gotta last
that fight after
you gotta
this.
last those first 3-4 minutes. Because again, when you look at Devontae Smith, his entire run up prior to losing to Commonwealthy is just him icing guys. He kills Julian Rosa in 46 seconds. He kills Dong Young Ma in 3 minutes and 53 seconds. They're both first round knockouts. His win over Contender Series Joseph Lowry, first round knockout. The prior win before that, first round knockout. He's a first round knockout guy. Kama got him to the 4-minute mark, had him hesitant, counterpunched him. Jaynes will probably do what Jaynes does, though, and that's come right at him. And that will not work out well for Jaynes. But if Jaynes was able to fight a decent game plan, he can hurt this guy. He can rock this guy. And the way you see him get hit by Worthy and just right away not offer up any defense, just like bang, out. This guy hasn't been hit a whole lot. Hard, clean, 4-ounce MMA gloves. Jaynes just knows I got to do what I got. What I did against Camacho is what I tried to do against Tucker. Almost worked. I hurt Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I tried to do against Mowgli Benitez, who's just way too good for me. It's probably what he's going to try to do here, right?
Yes,
He
that's
doesn't
what he's
change the
going to
recipe.
do in all of his fights. I think that's
Yeah,
what
so-
I've learned. But he's
so
fighting
3
often. I mean, good on him.
Yeah, and 3-1 is just not the price tag. Yeah. And you know what? This is one of only 2 fights where they open the over under at 1.5. But
And
it
it's
does,
it's juiced to the under. It's juiced.
It's juiced to the under 1.5 because either Jaynes chases him down and gets knocked the fuck out, or Jaynes chases him down and knocks him the fuck out. It's the tale of 2 fights. I know there's a lot of these guaranteed over or under 1.5s that we're going a little bit over, but it's like unless Jaynes decides to just switch up the game plan. He's coming on a short notice. So do you think he's going to change up the game plan?
Catch weight of 160.
Because it's short notice.
Yeah,
he's
very
gonna
short
he's gonna
notice.
come at him and try to do the damn thing.
Yeah.
And if you're Team Jaynes, it's like, well, maybe we should switch up the game plan. It's like let's just tape study Devontae Smith and figure out the game plan. You tape study, be like, dude, fucking bum rush him like you always do.
Exactly.
Fucking get up on this guy's
Let's not
grill.
fuck around. We're going in there for the kill.
Yeah, I agree.
I
So,
mean, the minus 165 to the
coward
under.
again. I'm gonna coward again. Say fuck, I got Devontae Smith. It's like again, I recognize it's a bad price tag, but he is the rightful favorite.
Carol Rosa takes on Jocelyn Edwards, minus 240 Rosa, plus 200 Edwards. Lucky to be joined by the captain of the Carol Rosa fan club here, Cody Saftic. I mean, I feel like every single time she fights, you're just like, oh, need to get some action on her. So I'm assuming that Carol Rosa is your pick here.
Yeah, listen, I like her, Carol Rosa because you know she's gonna go for it again. She's another one of these fighters that's super aggressive, has great output, has good cardio, has decent wrestling, decent grappling, but it's just gonna be throwing strikes the entire time. Has good technical boxing, nasty leg kick, sets up 2-3 punch combinations, finishes off.
What word were you about to try to say there? Expungiate?
No, it was exponate. Man, I obviously made up the word.
I got you off track.
Yeah, all good. She tries
Expungiate,
to
too.
put an
Expungiate.
exclamation point on the combination with the said leg kick. I like what I see out of Rosa. The problem is you see it at a relatively low level. We will talk about... No, Laura Procopio is no longer on this card.
What, that drop off?
Do you
She's
have it
fighting Molly
listed?
Meatball McCann.
You're right. So we will talk about that one in a
Yeah.
bit. But it's like that's her debut against Laura Procopio, who's super green and a little bit undersized. And whoa, one hell of a fight. She definitely wins the fight. She did get hit 110 times against Laura Procopio. And the fight against Vanessa Mello, it's Vanessa Mello, dude. Only, unlike Sarah Moras, she's got the striking credentials to actually, outstrike her, and that's what she does. She's able to punch her up. Again, lands huge numbers. Rosa's all volume, man. She doesn't really have that stinging finishing ability, but she just keeps working you. And what I liked against the Vanessa Mello fight is that, sure, she can strike, but she can wrestle a little bit as well. And unlike Sarah Moras, she's not stupid enough to think, why not take down Vanessa Mello? The key to beating her is to take her down. Why not take her down? I like what I see out of Rosa. The issue with Jocelyn Edwards is that she's not a walkthrough, and this is a walkthrough price. And so Jocelyn Edwards came in against Yuanan, and I was on Yuanan. She's the Chinese prospect.
Yuanan? Watch out.
You her, I hardly know her. With Yuanan, it's like, okay, she's a Chinese prospect. She has not looked good in the UFC for the most part. Lost the fight to Gina Mazzani notoriously, obviously. But the UFC's trying to build her.
She ended up being fake news.
Yeah, and it's a 50-50 fight. And again, if you're chasing value, Jocelyn Edwards is plus 260 by decision, which just seemed way off. But she looked okay in that fight. She looked good. She got the win. Her striking's good. She's got good leg kicks. She kicks to the body, good head kick. She landed a really nasty front kick in that fight to Wu as well, where it's like, okay, you see her putting it all together. What I didn't like is that she's not particularly all that strong in the clinch. She's not really good with her back against the cage. If Wu had any success, it was putting Edwards' back against the cage. The other problem is that Edwards was like a bang, 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 explode with strikes, and then lull, and then lull. Now, she took the fight on short notice, so I was giving her she's on short notice. She doesn't want to explode herself too much. But this is technically a short notice fight as well.
Yeah. It's a quick turnaround.
Very quick turnaround. So I don't know that she's improved so much in shape.
And she had to travel back from the island.
Now with Wu had gotten out-strength big time, out-muscled big time by Gina Mazzani, who ended up moving down to 125 and was a really thick, strong 125. But Wu's not the most physically strong girl out there. And yet she had a lot of success in that clinch. Rosa's a natural 35. Rosa's strong. Rosa's way stronger than Wu. And so she'll have the exact same success, if not more success, clinching her up, pressing her up against the cage. But in the open field, she throws 3 times more strikes than Wu. And that was Edwards' other problem. It was the lull. She'd explode, then she'd lull. There's no lull against Rosa. She attacks the entire time.
What about the
It's a bad price. I get it's a bad price.
Jocelyn Edwards' sub game is somewhat underrated. Just watching her on like the regional, she kind of knows what she's doing down there. So
she had a very tight armbar on Wu. Very tight armbar on Wu.
And like in her fights leading up to her UFC, doing the tape study, getting ready for that one, you can kind of see that like it's not like she's like lost on the ground whatsoever. I think she would prefer to stay on the feet, use like long range strikes, but yeah, she's definitely worked on that part of her game as well. Is Karol Rosa in danger of getting caught up in a sub like that?
I hope not. See, the thing with Edwards,
11-1.
Yeah, I mean, Rosa spent a lot of time training with Jessica Andrade. The thing is that Jessica Andrade is 5'5", short, power, stocky grappler. Right, that's different than what you face in a Jocelyn Edwards. But still, that long, lanky jiu-jitsu game, grab an arm, arm bar from guard. We always see it. I don't think it works against Rosa. I think if Rosa ends up in top control, same like she did against Vanessa Mello, she's just gonna smash away at her. And if this fight stays standing, Jocelyn Edwards, better footwork, more power, cleaner technique, but volume just bails out Rosa every time. She's going to throw. You want to play monkey knife fight? You play this fight all fucking day long, because Rosa's going to land 100 strikes and Jocelyn Edwards is probably going to land 60, 70, 80 significant strikes. Laura Procopio landed over 100. Let me remind you.
Until somebody gets an armbar from guard, but
until somebody gets an armbar from guard, which is the other way this fight goes, of course. This is going to be a banger, and it's a banger that Rosa, I think, lands a little bit more and has maybe a takedown or two in the mix and better cage control, and she's going to edge out the decision.
We have Molly McCann, a favorite in the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
Minus 155. Laura Procopio, plus 135. Juice to the tits on the over 2.5, minus 355. Over 2.5 rounds, plus 295 to the under. Are you betting Molly Meatball McCann as a favorite in the UFC in 2021?
No, and for that reason, we'll take another underdog here. Talking about you and Laura Procopio. What is up?
Dude, yeah. It's 50. Any of her fights in the UFC against anybody who has fought in the UFC. It's a 50-50 proposition at best.
I agree 100%,
Yeah.
man. I agree. What does Molly McCann do well? So she comes to the UFC and she's a accredited boxer. Oh, if you watch her in Cage Warriors, former champion, she got great boxing. So she's got a 54-inch reach, 52-inch reach. The reach is non-existent.
No.
Is it 54?
It can't be 54. Dude, that would be the shortest arms in UFC history. Because remember,
we'll bring it up. We're going to bring it up officially.
Who was the one with there was somebody with 61-inch reach, and we used to make fun of them and call them T-Rex arms years back on previous episodes.
Yeah. Okay, no,
So
you're
it's probably
right.
54 or 64.
You're right. Well, no, you're right and you're wrong. I'm way off. I've had a couple drinks. I'm way off on the 54. It's closer to 60, but it's 62. She has a 62-inch reach.
Which is about as low as it gets.
Low as it gets. So now she comes in, and literally every opponent has a massive reach advantage on her. And Laura Procopio is no different. She has a 5.5 reach advantage over Molly McCann. Now, Molly McCann, because she's coming up short on all those punches, A, and B, man, this girl does not wear damage well at all, right? A punch to the face is not a punch to the face for everybody. And Molly McCann swells out
if you bet
very fast.
Molly McCann against Ketchup beating, you were sweating bullets.
Holy shit, were you ever sweating bullets? I was like, please, doctor.
That doctor almost came in and ended the fight. She was winning that fight, but you're fighting Ketchup beating, man. This was them serving you a softball. I think that was in England.
It was in England. That's why the doctor was like, I'll let her lose the eye. Fuck it. If she's up 2 rounds.
We've seen doctors stop in that situation. She almost got finished. 3rd round TKO against Ketchup beating. I am not. Never would I ever bet anything with a minus next to it at this level.
That's it. So she comes from Cage Warriors. She's this accredited boxer. She pulls up all of her punches. She's not winning any striking exchanges against anything meaningful. She comes to the UFC. She's a favorite over Jillian Robertson. It's her grappling is really not all that great. So she gets taken down by Jillian Robertson. She gets submitted. No big deal. The Cachoeira fight, she landed 170 significant strikes, 2 takedowns. She got hit 75 times by Cachoeira. Had her eyes swollen shut. Gruesome injury. Lost the 3rd round. Not exactly a really good outing, but gets the win over for Cachoeira. Then she beats Ariana Lipski and Diana Belbita. That's the run. Then she gets Taylor Santos, end up being good. And Taylor Santos is able to take her down 5 times and completely rout her on the ground. And that's where I think Laura Procopio is going to have a lot of success. If you notice with Molly McCann, comes to the UFC as a boxer, very little boxing, right? The Robertson fight, no boxing. She gets taken down. The Cachoeira fight, she said, I don't want to strike with this girl. I'm going to take her down. That's how she won the fight, was the takedown. Didn't want to strike with Cachoeira.
Because everyone's arms are longer than hers.
With Lipski, she goes back to the wrestling. With Diana Belbita, 5 takedowns. Back to the wrestling. You're a boxer. You came to the UFC as a boxer. Now all of a sudden you're some British wrestling standout? No. And that's why when she ran into Taylor Santos, it was like... No. Taylor's way too strong. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Stuffs her up. Takes her down. Beats on her. With Laura Procopio, I'm pretty sure she's a black belt, first of all. Second of all, she lost to Carol Rosa at 135 pounds. Ooh, now she's had a year and a half off. She's only 25 years old, and she's moving down to 125 pounds. She's going to look better physically. She'll be stronger. I think the time off is going to have helped her. She landed 110 plus significant strikes on Carol Rosa. The striking looked good. Molly McCann's both eyes will swell shut if she gets hit that many times, but Molly McCann's been relying on the takedowns. And with Procopio, I don't think she's going to go down as easy as anybody thinks, because coming down to 125, she's going to be strong. She's going to be thick, and she has that BJJ black belt that even if she does get taken down, she's not going to be out of her realm. Get the fight back standing, beat her. And the last little X factor is, if she goes and does what Taylor Santos does, and that's just take Molly McCann down, this is an easy win, Paul. I'm banking on Laura Procopio to stop the takedowns and win the standing. But if she offensively scores a couple takedowns, and again, 1.5 years off, young fighter, always going to be developing, she makes a debut against Rosa, who I like. You mentioned yourself. I like Carol Rosa. Gives a great account of herself, and you haven't seen her since. Am I expecting a digressed version? No, I'm expecting her to make improvements. Come back, do the damn thing, get the victory, and you're going to give me an underdog price tag against Molly McCann. I'm in.
A consensus ability to fade Molly McCann, and they're giving us plus money. Let's go.
And it's not in England, it's in Vegas. So we should get some more fair judging on this one, I would think.
Yep, we got Yusuf Zalal taking on Seung Woo Choi. Minus 245.
Woo! Woo!
Minus 245 for Zalal, plus 205 for Choi. I mean, I imagine that Zalal is just like the faster, more technical striker in this affair. I was thinking about when I was like kind of breaking down this fight before, like, is there a big size disparity here? Like, Choi is massive for 145 pounds.
Yeah, big boy.
But their reach is pretty similar. I think it's like, yeah, their reach. I think Zalal may actually have them by like half an inch, and their height, like, it's 2 inches in favor of Choi, but Zalal's not going to be too much smaller than him. I feel like Zalal's just the more talented fighter, better on his feet, much more evasive. I do have concerns about his ability to fight 3 rounds. He has slowed down in rounds 3 of a bunch of his fights, but I think he gets the job done here. Don't love the price tag though. What about you?
You know what? I think Soo Wong Choi is a definite live underdog. You mentioned the fact that he's a big 45er. Woo! Remember when Pat used to do the chop? We'd go to the bar, we'd have a bunch of drinks, and we'd fucking chop this guy, eh? Man, those are the days. Then he had a couple kids. And then those days. But Soo Wong Choi, he don't mind taking a chop or two. You mentioned he's a big 45er. This guy's a huge 45er. And to that effect, Zalal's a big 45er. He's 5'10", 72-inch reach. Soo Wong Choi's 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. He's got 2-inch reach advantage over Zalal. He's got the height advantage over Zalal. Where he hasn't looked great is that this is a guy, he has a Muay Thai base. Despite being a Korean fighter, he's got a Muay Thai base. He was a bronze medalist at the 2010 World Muay Thai Championships. That's his base. But he draws Movsar Evloev in his debut. Well, shit. Talk about a tough fight, especially because you're a Muay Thai guy. So he gets taken down 5 times by Movsar Evloev. Lives to tell the tale, loses a decision. The Gavin Tucker fight, I thought he looked good early. The problem is Gavin Tucker, BJJ black belt, decent wrestling, realized, I don't want to stand with this guy, I'm going to take him down. So he takes him down 5 times. Shit, this guy's got no takedown defense. And our boy Gavin Tucker is able to submit him late in the 3rd round. It wasn't like he gave up or anything. It's later in the 3rd round. And then he fights, the second worst fighter on the roster, Sumar Mokhtarian. You and I like to talk about the Mokhtarians every now and again.
Never bet a Mokhtarian.
It's a layup win for sure. And he takes the layup win, but he lands 95 significant strikes and he held up everywhere. His cardio looked good. His striking really looked good. It looked like he was free to fight a little bit because when you're fighting Movsar Evloev, there's no space. And in the Tucker fight, Tucker realized really quick, and he's got high ring IQ. He realized, I got to close that space. When I look at this fight against Yusuf Zalal, I want to say Zalal is going to take him down because that's what he's been doing. But Zalal's been taking down Austin Lingo. Right? Zalal's been taken down. What was his last opponent? No, he lost his last one against Topuria. He wasn't able to get the takedowns there. He beats Austin Lingo in his debut, right? Then after that, he wins his next fight against Jordan Griffin. Not able to take down Jordan Griffin, a guy notoriously known for porous takedown defense.
Yep.
Can't take down Jordan Griffin. Goes out.
Gets controlled in the wrestling against Topuria last time out.
Yeah, exactly. So he's relying on his wrestling kind of on all these fights, is that if he can take you down, then that's how he's going to have his way, right? The same thing, his next fight is against Peter Barrett. Well, Peter Barrett's not very good, especially in the grappling realm. So he's able to take down Peter Barrett. Now he's on 3-fight winning streak, all 3 fights in 2020. He's being looked at as like a breakout fighter of the year. He draws Topuria. He's a favorite over Topuria. You and I got Topuria.
That was.
You and I got Topuria, and he
some of the best value of 2020, right?
For sure. And you know what? And his Topuria's second fight in the UFC against Damon Jackson, especially if he took it inside the distance, it's huge. But now everybody's on him. You won't get the value again.
No. Now we're getting like minus 500s on Topuria. Exactly.
But at the time, there's always a narrative. Topuria's making his debut, and he's on short notice. And Zalal's won 3 fights. Zalal's won 3 fights against Austin Lingo. No offense to Lingo, and he did win his last fight in the UFC. He's not UFC caliber. And Jordan Griffin, there's no offense to Jordan Griffin.
Well, what is UFC caliber?
It doesn't exist anymore.
No.
But I'm old school. You're old school. We've been doing this show for 7 years, man.
Yeah.
You know how many people they started up a show in the last year? Started a show in the last 2 years? Cappers come and go. And there's a lot of good ones. But those guys all talk about like, oh, remember that fight from last year, 2 years ago? We talk about fights like, remember that fight that happened 6 years ago? Because we've been watching fights for, man.
I think we got plus money on Francis Ngannou versus Anthony Bumbleton.
Exactly. We went to college. We did shows in college. All we've done is break down this stuff. So eventually it's like, you see the hype on one guy. He's won 3 fights, but he's beaten Austin Lingo, Jordan Griffin, and Peter Barrett. It's a very low sample size. Topuria hadn't beaten anybody either. But it's like he looked apart, man. He beat JJ Black Belt in incredible shape.
No, you could see just doing any tape of his
Strong, man.
of his fights before coming to UFC. You're like, this guy looks like the total package.
He looks like a UFC caliber
I mean,
guy.
against
What is that term?
Zalal, round 3, Topuria did really slow down quite a bit.
We took the fight on like 5 days' notice, right? So it's kind of understandable. And he ended up being a stud. So you can't discredit Zalal. Oh, he lost to Topuria. Topuria's a stud. He'll be a top 15 guy in the next year or two. No doubt about that.
He may already be.
Yeah, may already be. You know, he had one knockout win before the Damon Jackson fight. And it was like plus 460 as a knockout. And I thought, geez, it's a possibility, but he's only got one knockout. And it's like the body work. Like this guy's got hands and he's working and he's getting better. And there's always going to be improvements. And Zalal's making those improvements. But so is Soo-Won Choi. And so my one problem here is if Zalal goes out there and doesn't get those takedowns, Choi's got him. Choi's got him in a stand-up fight. If Zalal goes out there and he does take him down, yeah, that's his fight. But Zalal's not a chain wrestler. He was like a one shot at a time kind of guy. And when you rewatch back both of So-Woo Choi's fight, Evloev and Gavin Tucker, they both chain wrestled him. They never got him down in the first attempt. They got him down in the second, third, fourth attempt, right? You got to keep muscling this guy. Zalal, I'm not entirely sure he's going to keep together. I would say I haven't passed on any fight yet. You probably hit a pass on this. 245 Zalal? No, not taking that. No way.
The over minus 160.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
2.5
I'm in on
rounds.
that. I'm in on that for sure.
That's probably where I would go.
I agree.
You can use that as a parlay piece or just hit it straight, minus 160.
I agree.
To the over between these two guys. That's how I see this fight going 3 rounds for sure. And finally, I haven't had time to tape this one. This fight kind of just came out of thin air yesterday. I think Odi Osbourne was supposed to, who was he supposed to fight already before?
Yeah,
Jerome Rivera lost against against Davison Figueiredo's brother, Francisco, last time out, which was just on the island.
Just on the island 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Didn't look great in that performance. It was pretty outclassed, outperformed, out-hustled against Davison's brother, who is no Davison. And Odi Osbourne, who was he supposed to fight? That fight just dropped off.
Yeah, Odi was supposed to take out Dennis Bondar, who was making his debut.
Odi Osbourne was going to be an underdog in that spot. I think it was minus 160, plus 145. But yeah, I haven't really taped this one. I mean, how do you bet Jerome Rivera
or Odi Osbourne?
How do you bet Rivera? He didn't look great in his debut. That was 2 weeks ago. I guess he didn't take too much damage, but it was 2 weeks ago. I'm sure he hasn't really put in any sort of work since then. Like I imagine it hurts for a couple weeks after you fight, wouldn't it?
He went 3 rounds with the flyweight second GOAT. His brother. God, that can't feel too good. But yeah, he mostly just got taken down. There was like no damage in that.
Yeah.
I would assume. I don't know how it works. I don't know. I do know how it works. But I don't know in this situation if the UFC sends out an email to managers, who's got a guy that wants to fight.
I think they're all just hanging out.
I talked to Jerome. Jerome wants to fight. Jerome's in to fight. That's how it'd be. No injuries, back in to go.
I think they're all just hanging out in Vegas because they know it's just like... And they've got people just hanging out there, and you're like, you want to fight? You want to fight this weekend? Jump on in. Like, hey, filling out the bottom of the card. I don't have really a take on this fight. I'm not... It's
hard to have a take on this fight. I'll tell you why, right? So Jerome Rivera's booked to fight Odi Osbourne, and Odi Osbourne pulls out. And so who steps in a short notice replacement? Francisco Figueiredo. And then he loses to Francisco Figueiredo. And then 2 weeks later, Odi Osbourne's good to go again. And they rebooked it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I told you these two guys are fighting, and you're like, that's a 50-50 fight. And then I told you one of these guys just fought and lost, and then we're going to rebook that fight. Is that not an advantage for the guy that didn't fight and didn't lose?
Well, why didn't he
didn't
fight?
Take the damage? Well, and that's the other question. Why didn't he fight? Now, if they're booking him this quick as a turnaround, less than a month, it's 16 days or something. I would assume it was COVID related, travel related, something related.
False positive, maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to see them on Wednesday just to see, but Odi Osbourne should have this. I was hoping to get a much better price on Odi, only because he looked fucking awful in his debut against Brian Kelleher, but that's not a good indication of who this guy is. So the Kelleher fight, again, repetitive theme, untrustworthy guys, bad ring IQ. Why would you shoot? You know the guy's got a guillotine. Everybody knows the guy's got a guillotine. Like, you're a much better striker. You're more fluid on the outside. Good switch stance guy. Fights orthodox, fights southpaw. Nasty left body kick. Good, Pura Vida BJJ. Pura Vida is real close to Rufus Sport in Wisconsin. So these guys know how to strike. These guys are good strikers. And on top of that, they've got good grapplers in the gym. Guys like Rick Glenn have trained there. Guys like Zach Otto have trained there. He should be equipped for this. It was just like a bad momentarily lapse in judgment. And then that fight's over a year ago. So you'd like to think that he's made improvements. You'd like to think that he's not going to take this fight to the ground. He's going to keep it standing. But one thing two problems I have against him is the Brian Kelleher fight. Yeah, he lost submission first round. The Armando Villarreal fight in Contender Series, first round finish. Kelly Oldfield, first round finish. Orton Daly, first round finish. Orton Daly again, first round finish. Jose Luis Calvo, first round finish. And then he lost he won a split decision over Corey Galloway, 8-5. It's 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Split decision. That's the one fight that went over the one round. Prior to that, he lost to Antonio Sanchez by decision. This guy does not appear to have more than one round cardio.
Then we hit the under 2.5 plus 145.
I'd like to hit that, but Rivera looks so hapless and against Figueiredo. Now, it is Figueiredo, right? So we got to give him credit there. But yeah, Odie's either been knocking these guys out in the first round or falling apart. So maybe you do go with that.
Rivera fought 2 weeks ago.
Right, but he fought the second GOAT's younger brother. He didn't get knocked out. Didn't get submitted. Got taken out 5 times.
He fought Davison. Davison would. And by the way,
Davison would have killed him in the first minute. Come on.
These guys are fighting at 145. That fight was at 125.
Yeah, you're right.
I think we hit the under in this bitch.
Yeah, I definitely think you take Odie Osbourne.
I think you think. Well, I mean that's minus 205.
I know. But think about this. You're Odie, you're a 35er. You fought your career at 35. You lost to Brian Kelleher, who's not bad, man. He's a top 25 guy, let's say. But he's a great gatekeeper. And he's got a guillotine choke. You should have known that. Didn't know that. Made a mistake. Took a year off. Hopefully improve. This guy's a natural 35er. Fighting at 45 would benefit him. Jerome Rivera is a natural flyweight. His best fights are at flyweight. Him at 35, he looks out of place. Him at 45, he's definitely going to look out.
I mean, he's not cutting any weight this week. He's probably maybe like 5 pounds or something.
His
like
offensive wrestling, when I saw him in the Figueiredo fight, he's not strong enough, right? So the prospect of moving up one weight class, let alone 2, but let's just call it 1 because Odie's not a 45er. We'll call it 1. That strength discrepancy is going to be tenfold. He's going to struggle to get this fight to the ground. And if he has to stand with Odie Osbourne, he's going to lose. The one thing is Odie's cardio. I'm just not sold on it. And at 2-1, you got to hope the guy can fight more than 5 minutes.
You just keep selling me on this under 2.5 rounds. Plus, literally that over under total literally just popped up right before we started the show. And I added, it's not even written on your sheet. I had to write it on my sheet because it says NA on yours, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was literally just released, so I may be saying this right now, and the shit may be gone. But based on everything you've said right now, I think I'm gonna hit that under 2.5 rounds. We got a guy who fought 2 weeks ago, going up 2 weight classes, taking on a guy who was getting ready for this date. Jet lag from the Middle East for Jerome Rivera. Small cage, plus 145, under 2.5 rounds. Start the night with a firecracker.
I can confirm that the over under 2.5 rounds as of this point is still it's minus 150 plus 120 is still the line on.
Oh, see, so it moved a little bit
already. Yeah,
it's moving.
It's moving.
So we better get out of here pretty soon.
Fucking go! Hit the PRP. Go!
So I don't have a device in front of me. I'm losing CLV, bro. All right, we're just about out of time. Before we go, hit him with the PRP, kid.
Okay.
Cody's
because I'm a responsible adult. I'm just gonna have a little mini beer for the PRP.
Oh, wow.
It is a little mini beer. Okay. We're kind of half cowarding. This is Dog City. You can make the argument for every dog. We have made the argument for every dog. Which one's going to shit in the apple pie? I am going Volkov. I feel good about that. Sandhagen, it's a bad price, but we are going to take it. Pantoja, it's a very good price, considering he's probably better than a minus 130. I'm going to lean with him. Cody Stamman, 420. Don't love. Wow, yeah, 420. Yeah, all jokes. You want to push that by decision, but again, he's going to be a guy that's got parlay piece. I'm going to go with Beneil Dariush, technically dog number 1.
Mm-hmm. And that's our shoey bet. Don't forget.
And that's our shoey bet for sure. I got the over 2.5. Ball's got the under 2.5. Johnson versus Clay Guida. Pick your poison, man. You can go dog number 2, but I did cower to go Michael Johnson. There's something about
just prepare to be really disappointed by that pick.
I must just love the taste of shit in my fucking apple pie because this guy always ends up on the ticket. And my God, what point do you learn?
He'll be.
But then they give him Clay Guida.
He's gonna be deep down your thing. There's no way you're throwing that guy in the top line.
No, because there's been times in my life where he's been a top liner and he performs like a fourth line kind of guy.
Yeah.
Mike Rodriguez should, in theory, go out there and carve this man up. Timur Valiev, he's going to have to be a top-line guy. Devontae Smith should knock out Justin Jaynes. I do recognize the danger. Kyle Rosa, it's a very bad price tag, but I do think she's the rightful winner. Lara Procopio is technically going to be dog number 2. You know what? At some point, the ball's got to drop. Sung Choi is going to be dog number 3, and then we're jumping back to Odie Osbourne. And again, recognizing it's a bad price, but it's 13 fights. 10 favorites likely. Oh, yeah, I think 10 favorites win, 3 underdogs lose. That's what I just told you. But like underdogs are going to hit, you know, maybe I want a little more than 3, but which ones do you switch off to? We've talked about all of them. They've all got a live chance. The ones I'm going to go with are Suo Choi, Lara Procopio, Beneil Dariush. Those are going to be my 3 underdogs.
And then monkey knife fight. There was, you seem to really like the over. We don't even have the numbers in front of us, but have a look at the over in, or more, I guess, more significant strikes for Jocelyn Edwards versus Carol Rosa.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll further that by saying I like, well, I got to see them, but I would think that fights that could hit those over is the Pantoja versus Kape fight. Could definitely hit that over. Sandhagen versus Edgar could hit that over. And I gotta see the over under on the Volkov Overeem fight because you're mentioning you thought it was going to be that over 2.5, and if that's the case, you know, if Overeem,
I said under 2.5 rounds in that. Or wait, no, I was saying over. Yeah,
you took the over. I was.
You were Volkov under. I was thinking Overeem and over, but Overeem and over don't even really match up all that well. I'm gonna have a little Skrilla on Alistair.
I love that you
Maybe it's our
the
last
over
time.
under, but it also does cause you to think about something one too many, right? Because it's like I got this guy, but what about the over under? Oh well, then that kind of changes. It's like straight up picks.
My favorite, I think I like Overeem plus 165 out of that whole scenario.
Volkov, too much cardio. Sandhagen, fuck. Hopefully Edgar don't turn it on you. Pantoja, way too much experience. Stamman, wrestling advantage, striking advantage. He's clear cut. Dariush, he's got the wrestling advantage. He's beat this guy already. Jiu-jitsu to stay out of trouble. Johnson, chin check this guy. Rodriguez, definitely chin check this guy. Timur Valiev, chin check this guy, Paul. Devontae Smith, what's up? Chin check this guy. Kyle Rosa, decision, 100%. That minus 250 over 2.5. That might be your best bet on the entire card. Taking that fight to go the distance.
Minus 250 on an over 2.5.
100%. What's just go the distance?
Armbar from guard.
I'll tell you something about Jocelyn Edwards. Her last fight against Wu.
No, you're probably right.
It's a 50-50 fight. But she's plus 260 to win by a decision. Why is that? Because when she fought in the regional scene in Panama, she diced everybody. Then you saw her against a top 45 opponent, and it was like, could knock her out, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't knock her. She's not knocking out Carol Rosa. Not happening. No way. Can Carol Rosa knock her out? Probably not, because her last 2 fights, she landed over 120 significant strikes both times and did not knock out the opponent. It's going the distance.
All right.
Over 2.5 is
over
0.25.
2.5 rounds in that. What's Jaynes Smith not to go to decision?
Jaynes, you know what's funny? 2.5, 250. I know it's the 1.5, but the fight goes the distance is 225. Just take the 2.5, guys.
What are you saying?
That Carol Rosa versus Edwards is 250 is the over 2.5, but the fight goes the distance is 225.
Yeah.
I was like, just take the distance.
It's probably not going to get.
Doesn't go to decision.
Yeah, Jaynes versus Smith
minus 380.
Yeah.
I mean, parlay.
Anybody thinks that
parlay that fight. Not to go to decision with the Rosa Edwards to go to decision.
With Timur Valiev straight up. What's up?
I'll make it.
What's up? Okay, that's our parlay.
I'm down to party. That's our party parlay for the week.
Party parlay of the week. And yeah, listen, the first 3 weeks of the year, not exactly the ideal circumstances, not the ideal outcomes, but Paul and I are committed to getting us back on track. We directly bet these bets we bet all these fights ourselves. So, if you had a bad night, believe you me, I had a bad night. And so we're going to get it back on track. This is a very difficult card, no doubt about it, but we're going to take our time. We're going to make the right picks, and hopefully no more than 3 of us fuck us over. We get the right combination. It's all about the right combination.
And remember to subscribe to Mayo Media Network.
Dude, $100 giveaway.
Where there will be a drop from Mad Lab. He'll break down the main event. I believe he's breaking down every single week. Plus, you got Brett's video. He's going to be providing. Usually, it's like three plays and one player that he's avoiding or fading on DraftKings. So they'll fill in some of the blanks. They'll have a little bit more as the week goes on. You have a little bit more information. Shit, by the time this show comes out, half of these fights could be off. We're in Vegas, and I hear they still have a bunch of COVID issues down there.
Yes, I would also like to say, sign up for Monkey Knife Fights. I know they're not technically a sponsor right now. What you got to realize is they sponsor the Bucks, right? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are now in the Super Bowl. The entire marketing budget is behind the fucking Bucks, man.
Rob Gronkowski had a thing there the other day.
So I can
use promo code DOP. When you make a new account, they'll match up to $50 on your first deposit.
I'll tell you something, right?
That still works.
We had 38 dedicated good fans.
33
dedicated good fans signed up for Monkey Knife Fights, and countless others that did reach out to me to say, I'm in Quebec, I'm in Europe, I'm in different parts, Michigan, Ohio, Florida.
Or it's not legislated there, or it's not allowed there yet.
And they took the time and they tried to sign up, and I really much appreciate that. I fucking appreciate all you guys. And if we got all you guys on the same page, Gronkowski's still going to sell more promo codes. Motherfucker's wrong. Remember the Bibby Jones?
He didn't have a promo code. They just probably paid him. I mean, we're not on Gronk level.
Google Bibby Jones, Rob Gronkowski. Get at me. And I don't even know where I was going with this. Now I'm thinking about Bibby Jones. Thanks a lot, Paul. Anyways, Gronkowski, good guy. Monkey Knife Fight, great guy. Great guy. It's
great company.
Furious George. Get that? Play on Curious George? I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sign up. This is another good way as well. We got those overs. DraftKings, obviously, great people over there. You'll be able to check out Mad Lab. You'll be able to check out Brett Appley, check out the DraftKings stuff. And as far as money lines, parlays, straight picks, couple over-unders, Paul, let's get back in the win column, my man.
Let's get back in the winning column. So that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody and Pat, I am Paul, saying goodbye and good luck.